Oh, we got numbers.
All right, guys, it's ClevelandMoto Podcast number 417. Light them up. And today, this is our first time recording from Tom's basement, a.k.a. Phil's Rathskeller. This is the basement bar that we only had to buy a house to get.
Only had to buy the house.
Yep. The bar came for free.
We're still tweaking the.
Now we're a long way from being perfect yet, guys.
Yep.
So if you're used to the amazing fine-tuned production,
Smooth running,
and the awesome set work of our normal shop podcast studio,
It's crazy is people think it's a real shop. We did really well with that set.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, it was fucking good, man.
amazing what you can do with CGI.
And cardboard. And cardboard.
What people don't realize is that entire thing is a shop in Denver that we just green screened in.
Yeah, it's great.
That was just green screened.
Phil, did you bring one of the paper bikes to sit in front
Yeah,
of?
we're going to bring up cardboard. Yeah.
It is going to be harder to get a bike in front of here
I don't think we're going to worry about that. That's it. And so using Tom's basement offers a lot of cool stuff because now the other thing that's nice is I don't have to stop it being a podcast and start it being a shop again every Thursday night at 1 a.m.
Right. Or just being in the shop from...
Also true.
Yeah.
Yeah, also true. That's a big deal. So just getting out of the shop is pretty nice. But the basement here, so far, it's worked out great.
This is awesome.
It took us about an hour and a half to set this all up.
Some change. Yeah.
Yep. So certain changes. Hopefully you guys like the sound. Hopefully the video turns out okay. Sleepy did a really good job getting lights in here.
I think people are gonna be a little upset that we don't have ambulances or the drag strip or any of the other things.
And when we do a crackle cast in the backyard, it'll be quiet.
Ish. Yeah.
There's a little thing going on with an echo. Just
Yeah.
so you know.
I like the room. I can hear the room.
The room.
yeah.
Because it's a smaller room, so you're getting a little. It's natural reverb. It's not a bad thing.
I like it.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds good. Yeah, Meckelfresh, you sound fantastic.
Do I?
Oh, yeah.
In
You,
this
Well,
room,
thank you.
you have a
sound
face for radio.
good. Yeah, there you go. Ta-da. So just to kind of, the one big shout out I wanted to give, because I did want to get to our friend Evan Bloom, who's one of our podcast listeners.
Hey, Evan.
Evan is also a stringed musician of the highest order.
Excellent.
And so Evan will be playing, now for podcast listeners, totally useless. But for people that are here, he's going to be playing.
Local podcast listeners, right? But it won't drop in time.
I was going to say, the four of us know about it. But Evan's going to be playing at the Music Box tomorrow night. So he's going to play at the Music Box. He's got 2 complimentary tickets because Music Box is stingy on guest passes.
Oh, yeah.
That's a nice place.
It is a nice place. And
That's where I went for the podcast 151 before I went to Christie's.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
That was part of the fuel for that fire.
That was really. Ooh, that's cool. So anyway, I just thought that'd be fun. So I'm going to pass that along to Dustin because I know Dustin knows Evan, and I also know that Dustin is a fan of music, stringed instrument music. So that's fantastic. Strangs. So yeah, I wanted to pass that along to him because that's really cool. It's official. Anybody who was wondering, keeping track, today's date. We are banging at the shop. I mean, banging. It is absolutely certain that part of my new job description is to keep Tom from having to work on weird shit or bad shit. The stuff that has shown up in the past 5 days that I've been like, nope.
And
Bring out your dead in spring.
Yet the Zuma made it past the gates.
Well,
Do you know how many squirrel nests were in this thing?
today I took a phone call from somebody. It's like, you worked on my Vespa 2 years ago, and it's totally fine.
Yeah.
But the ignition's a little wonky since I evacuated not 1, not 2, but 3 families of vermin. And I'm like, yeah,
No,
Needs a tune-up.
not right now.
not today, not now, buddy.
We know a guy in Tennessee. We talked to him. You talked to him on the phone.
I talked to him on the phone earlier today. Yeah, that's it. So, Joe Casola was. We're doing some horse trading. Joe Casola and I. He's going to make a trip up to Cleveland, and we're going to do some real horse trading. So I think we've got the deal up to like 4 bikes now.
Oh God.
So it's pretty exciting. The
I'm worried my wife is doing some real horse trading at home, actually.
with actual horses. Yeah. When you say horse trading around your family,
Yeah, it's not
that's
like-
real horses.
Well, we were convinced when we came back from North Carolina that there was going to be a horse in the backyard.
Because she did the thing where, so I finally called her
Yeah.
to say hi.
Right.
You know, because you're supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Right before you come home.
Right before
Yeah,
you
yeah.
come
Right,
home.
yeah.
Yeah. And John locked the door, talked to his wife. I figured, well, okay, maybe I'll talk to mine.
Right. Yeah.
How's everything going? Oh, great, great, great. How's my new dog? Oh, she's great, 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 great. I can't wait for you to meet Athea, or not Athea, Alicia, and hung up.
Ooh.
And so me and John are, and I'm like, if I get home and there's a fucking horse in my backyard, I'm killing somebody.
Yeah.
But
for real.
But it wasn't. It was another feral cat that lives in her feral cat domicile out in the backyard.
The cat house.
Yeah.
Just get you a Shetland pony, one of the little tiny ponies. It'll be fine.
Dude, she wants one of those too.
Yeah.
And apparently she volunteered to take all the chickens from the class that are growing chickens right now.
Let's get a horse you can't ride. All you have to do is just shovel money into it and
And poop comes out.
Yeah. Yep. That's what it is. Apparently, something like 10,000 cows caught on fire?
18,000 exploded.
Cows
Exploded.
caught on fire in Texas. So I did a Google search.
I just thought it was. I sent it to you because
That's a
it
heck
all
of a-
was because of a honey badger.
That's a heck of a barbecue.
So the long and short of it is, it's a factory farm, and it's a factory dairy farm. And the property is over a mile wide and over 2 miles long.
What was?
It's a big factory farm. And on the Google satellite images of it, you can see hundreds of cows outside. Hundreds.
Smoldering?
So I can only imagine how many are inside. No, this isn't a picture taken today.
Okay.
It's a picture taken in the past. But,
Those were formerly cows that were inside.
well, so here's my point. If you look at this image from space and you see these buildings that are huge buildings, and if the article says that 18,000 cows died, and in the picture, Google Earth, the cows are very sparse. They're not touching each other. But there's like 200, 300 cows outside. That means there's 17,000 cows inside that building. There's not enough room in that building for 17,000 cows. I have a feeling that cow's chief byproduct is methane.
Yeah, one extra fart and you're done.
Yeah. very
Yeah, yeah. So I think that maybe, boom, because, that's all under roofs, right? And you fill a roof up, you fill a building up, you fill up an aircraft hangar.
If you at 18,000 cows, that place would have had to have its own waste treatment.
Yes,
You know
it-
what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah.
It probably had a
Yeah, yeah.
digester or something.
Well, no.
that.
You've got a huge vat, basically of a wastewater pond. You catch
Lagoon.
all the runoff. Yeah,
A
exactly.
lagoon, yeah,
and
like
then it
we have.
settles out, and you literally have to keep the water rolling in
Dude,
it.
I wouldn't put it past somebody lighting a cigarette in the middle of that, because one of the biggest death causes in the weed industry, of like legal weed in California, is these guys that are like not the big operations, but they're still legal, and they're doing not methane, butane extraction, where they push the methane or butane down through the product, and it pushes out the oil at the bottom,
really?
and so that's how they get concentrates,
Oh.
right? But they have 50% of these places blow up because the guys get bored and light a cigarette, not remembering that they're pushing
They're
fucking
working with
butane out the
butane.
back of it.
How did the honey badger start this fire?
I don't know. Maybe it was just like because what they're saying, I call it a honey dipper. It's like
Yeah.
a truck that
Yeah, it's a
sucks
truck.
it up.
Yeah.
But maybe the pipe could have backfired or
Yeah, I
something
don't
and
know.
caught the whole thing on fire.
the only thing I can think about this is there's 18,000 cows
Yeah.
that caught on fire,
Yeah.
that had burned to a crisp. And the only thing I can think about this is that's just about what I think about Texas brisket.
Yeah. Well, the weird
Bring
thing.
the fucking truckload of barbecue.
So
sauce.
I said-
Exactly. exactly.
So wrong.
I said if every cow is 3 feet wide and 8 feet long, that's 24 square foot per cow. And if there's 18,000 cows at 24 square feet per cow, that's 360,000 square feet.
And this is the math Piaggio uses
So-
when it comes to.
But
giving
you're
you
only
bikes.
factoring in one floor because a lot of the like they used to have. They had feedlots in Chicago that were 10 stories high.
So when I figured out 360 some thousand square feet,
Bucky's was 72,000.
Oh, so good.
So 360,000 square feet. That's like fucking 8 Bucky's. And that's all full of cows. Moo, right? So the only way I could think of is when those cows are in there, they are touching.
Oh, yeah.
And when those cows exploded, man,
It was like,
my God, man. My God.
Well, and then you figure the fire afterwards, because once all the beef tallow starts lighting up,
I can't even imagine.
Oh, wait. Since
It would've smelled fantastic.
Since you've said Bucky's and we're talking about barbecue beef, fresh brisket on the board.
Yeah, fresh.
Yeah, right.
brisket.
fresh brisket on the board.
Yep.
you know how like, and you know, I don't eat meat, but like, you know, the guys have all those the things to chop it up, the finger
Oh, yeah,
things and stuff.
yeah, the
They were
balls.
using bulldozers down
Oh,
there. There's
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
No,
It's
that's
a lot
that
of brisket.
operation alone, man, is insane.
It's a lot of brisket.
That's
That
a
is a
lot.
whole lot of brisket.
God bless them, because I get in there at 11 o'clock at night and I can't eat bread. So they're like,
Right.
well, we can't make you a sandwich. I'm like, just give me a pound of meat. They're like,
Right.
oh, cool.
That'll be $15.99.
Yep.
You can totally ignore the bread.
Yep.
I think that's brilliant. I just any way that you slice it, slice it.
With the claws.
The dairy farm on Fuego of that size. Oh
bueno.
my God.
No bueno.
Yeah. So that's just terrible. So anyway, but I thought I wanted to bring that up because I can't even imagine. I've driven through parts of Texas before where I couldn't breathe because the animal processing plants were so strong.
oh yeah.
Where I just, if you ever think you're going to go to the Cadillac Ranch, Amarillo, Texas, and you're like, yeah, let's go to the Cadillac Ranch, man. That'll be great. We're going to get out of the car. We're going to spray paint some Cadillacs. It'll be really cool. It ain't cool because the second you get out of your car and you hit natural Texas air, seasoned by the beef industry, you realize your nose hairs are burning.
Oh,
burning.
dude, just coming here today, you know, I jumped on and right now it's fertilizer time.
It
in
is
farm.
fertilizer.
Oh, yeah.
So it's manure everywhere.
Muck in the fields.
Yeah.
Oh boy, man, is it a nose?
It's called
strong.
field application.
Well, that's all right. You hit Texas City and Houston, you can't breathe either, but that's because of the chemicals.
Different story.
The way those usually work is they have like they have like a wash system.
Yeah.
Or it's like a deluge that just blasts across the floor and rinses everything into a trough.
You're just going to have to put him in a headset. Did you get the, what is the
Do you
Britney
not hear it
Spears?
change when you go back, or you don't paying attention?
Oh, I don't know. He's not getting it. Yeah,
He's gonna punch me. I'm scared.
It's okay. You're within range.
I know.
So these are very good microphones.
They're wonderful.
I like the Shure
Thank you,
microphones.
Chris Franklin.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, they are
I
delightful.
tend to favor the blue ones because they're less sensitive to how close you are to them.
Oh,
These
right.
sound fantastic when you're up in them.
yeah.
Those other ones they don't sound as good,
Right.
but they don't care if you go back.
Right,
Yeah,
but you know
forth
what's
as
nice
much.
about that? You don't get crosstalk. You don't get extra noise. It makes my life so much.
So much nicer.
I don't give a fuck about
Yeah, no, you like to make my life hard. That's your whole
So for the past since Tuesday, Tuesday was our first. To me, Tuesday. Oh, everybody with headphones on right now is just not loving John.
Johnny Mac.
drinking his gay pride Bud Light.
Yep.
The
Still not as gay as Bud Lime though. That was still.
I
gay.
like the comment. They're like Bud Light Lime, but it's delicious.
I'm drinking.
You know,
I'm drinking this straightly forward.
Yeah,
I can't. You want me to fucking stick it all the way down my fucking throat?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I mean, what the fuck?
come on, all the way in.
No.
3 inches, man.
You are drinking a Bud
I'm
Light.
willing to drink a Bud Light, but I'm not sticking this microphone all the way down my throat.
Dude, just double your penis. It's 3 inches from here to here, and you
I
can talk.
really
with
just
it.
think we have to hang a couple of testicles from the bottom of that microphone to make John feel at home.
Yeah.
And if we put a couple of nuts on there, he'll get right up on it, right where he needs to be.
You know, I
He'll be
wish
fine.
Steve Hofford was here to bust my balls.
We could
I can handle that. I'm used to that.
we could just put Halford's nuts under there.
Wait.
Just a picture
I'm
of
gonna
him.
make you feel just right at home. You ready for it?
Yeah, there you go. Hey, ouch.
I'm not saying anything more.
So, you know what I forgot to bring up the other week?
Oh, what'd you forget to bring up, Steve?
So as you are a zero dealer, and
I am.
you don't really, you're not super into electric motorcycles anymore, but at the same time,
I'm as into him as I can be.
Right,
But
they-
every day I get a little loud.
Wait. Balls deep.
Yeah.
but did they move production from America recently? Is that what they're doing?
So here's what they're doing.
Yeah.
So they have signed a contract. Oh man, where was it? What was the country?
was Indonesia or something.
I think it was. I think it was Indonesia.
I think. Don't hold me accountable.
Yeah, I think it was Indonesia.
I think so too.
So yeah, they signed a contract with a massive automobile manufacturing company, and so they're not making. They're going to make the bikes for that market there.
Okay, so it's not the ones that are sold here.
Financially, it doesn't make a lot of sense to move stuff that way when you're already doing it here. But their idea was they wanted to hit that Asian market, and you can survive a lot better without paying tariffs if you make them there.
Gotcha. Okay, so I thought they were moving full production there.
Nope, not at all.
Okay,
not at all.
That's a difference.
In fact, it's going to be a relatively small percentage of the production, but the idea is to try to buy a $20,000 motorcycle that's made in America in Indonesia.
Like 50 grand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Indonesia is not kind with the tariffs.
No, they're super stingy with the tariffs, but they are good for manufacturing base. So that's pretty cool.
Okay.
So Tuesday, so I don't work on Mondays. I do pickups and deliveries and all kinds of stuff, and all that goes on Mondays. But Tuesday, man, I was like, right up in the morning, I was like, I'm riding to work today. This is going to be great. And so I rode Scoot Baka. So I rode Scoot Baka to work Tuesday morning, man. I pulled that thing out, and I was like, yeah, this is the day for riding a novelty motor scooter to work. And it was a tad chilly in the morning, it was 48 degrees in the morning or whatnot. So I had all the gear on. And I'm rocking down the road and just loving it, having a fucking blast. Jump up on the freeway. And it's parked all winter. Did fluff up the tires, and it's got, new rubber on it. It's all happy. And so going down the freeway, and the gas needle was just on the wrong side of the E. Just one of those, like with a Vespa, you're like, that's about 30 miles.
Was there actually space though? I mean, like a little.
Yeah, or like I said, the wrong side of the E. So
I learned
digital.
about John. John has a very unique way of looking at empty.
Oh yeah.
We learned about it on the way home. We were calculating like, well, we're going to be pushing or not.
Yeah, with a Ford,
We made it.
Yeah, give me a Ford pickup truck or a Ford van. I can go all the way to where the needle's doing push-ups on the stopper, right? But so I jumped on the Scoot, and I was like, oh, I'm just going to take it easy. It's a nice day. But I get on the freeway on that thing, and I'm like, I'm not going to take it easy. I'm going to go as fast as Scoot Baka will go. Big furry mess going down the road is maximum velocity. And so I go down, I look down, and I'm at like 92 indicated, right? And so that's probably 84, 85 miles per hour real world.
Jumping to light speed.
It was so happy. Just the fur was majestic, right? And so I'm blasting down the road, and I have a Chewbacca mask in front of the headlight.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so at about 80 some miles per hour, the Chewbacca mask decided to flip over to the backside of the headlight, which spooked me.
Yeah, sure.
Because I'm driving, right? And so the mask does a flipperoni. And when the mask does a flip, I'm looking at Chewbacca's head upside down right in front of me. And I'm like, oh, please don't let that thing hit the pavement. Like, I don't want it to fall off the bike. It's kind of a hard thing to find. And so the mask flips. I pull a hand off the handlebar at 85 miles an hour in a Vespa, 12-inch wheels. And I fucking with Chewbacca's head, putting Chewbacca's face back in the front of the headlight where it belongs. And I look over, and there is a minivan full of kids. And they are losing their goddamn mind. And I see them diving across the inside of the minivan to grab mom's phone to take pictures, right? And I'm like, oh, man, this is how I'm going to die. This is how I'm going to die today. And
I think they know that, and that's why they're getting the camera ready.
Yeah.
Kids are savvy now.
When I did the Gymkhana at the Denver rally, which is a bike eating Gymkhana, when I did the Denver rally, I told one of the guys that organized it, I said, you son of a bitch. And I said, you built this event for bikes that weigh 225 pounds.
Yeah.
This bike weighs 400 pounds. You fucker. And he goes, well, and I said, everybody here just wants to see me crash. They just want to see Scoot Baka eat shit from the highest event possible, like the big top of the teeter-totter or whatever. They just want to see this bike take a dive because they just want to be there for the spectacle. See the fur hit the ground and everything else. And so I did it. I just grudge fucked that Gymkhana, and I did everything slower than I normally would do it, but more precise.
I saw the video.
Just slower and more precise because I was like, I'm not going to give 200 people the satisfaction of watching me crash. Nope, no way. And they did make me go at the end because the bike was so heavy, it destroyed most of the events. But it was fair. But that was cool. Riding in Scoot Baka was pretty badass.
Now remind me,
Yeah.
in the future,
Yeah.
not too distant future, because I still have to do the rims.
Right.
That we have to track down one of the Chewbacca masks that does the Chewbacca voice.
Mine does.
You know, Chewbacca mom.
Walk up to my mask and lower the jaw.
Right.
When you lower the jaw, it goes.
Because I was gonna say, because I'm gonna connect that to the horn. So that whenever you hit the horn,
right.
you get. The
I
noise.
thought about that. I thought about getting a good little speaker, and then just because Chewbacca's voice in the mask is very quiet.
Right.
You know, it's just for children and stuff like that. But if we did have a nice PA systems hiding
we can
somewhere,
make this work.
You can make it really loud, so like people could hear you with authority.
So one of the benefits of my new dog, besides being my best friend and
And being a great fucking Dane.
And being able to ride it to work if your bike breaks down.
but when she gets tired, she turns into Chewbacca.
Oh, she makes all the noises.
Or not that whatever Chewbacca noise, that roar. It's fucking awesome, man.
If the night is ever good enough and enough people are lubricated, one of my new favorite party tricks is, everyone knows what Chewbacca sounds like.
Right.
And about 50% of the population is pretty certain they got a good Chewbacca. About 1% of those people are right.
Right.
But when you get about 20 people to do their best Chewbacca, it's fantastic. It's. I don't think you need much better. You can put your guitar away at that point. You're going to have a good time. Yeah.
It's not easy.
I kind of cheat. I'm not going to do it on mic, but I kind of cheat when I do it. So no. I don't even.
I always use the chair and just go across the ground, and that's pretty much as good as I can get. Yeah.
You get a little gargle in back, like
You have to gargle. just get up on the microphone like we put the truck on.
It sounds like you guys are drinking.
you knew this was going to degrade into this. As soon as I brought this up, I was like, hey, here we go. This is going to happen. Anyhow, but I switched over to the Harley the next day. So I've been riding the Road King back and forth because that's just a nice, comfortable ride, right?
I'm supposed to say something horrible about Harleys here. I'm sure.
It's fine. I'll keep riding it, Tom. The bike doesn't care whether or not you like it. Yep.
We had that conversation earlier, yeah.
But I have noticed that because it is a military or law enforcement motorcycle, when you hit the horn button, it does not make the sound you'd expect it to make. It makes the sound of safety. Is
it doing the
It's the
air horn?
Yeah. It's that really annoying. It's only a cop vehicle.
That's what you want.
Right. It's just, so even if you just breathe on the horn ever so slightly, so it's got a rocker switch. If you push the horn to the left, like you would normally push the horn to the left, it gives you that, like that police sound. It's terrible.
Yeah.
So that's better than your
It's
Chewbacca.
terrible. But if you push the horn
beautiful.
rocker to the right, it's the siren. And it's the real good siren. So I had the gentleman that crossed in front of me on Wednesday. So he was in the straight, I'm going straight ahead lane, and I'm totally turning left lane. And halfway through his going straight, he decided he wanted to turn left. But he didn't plan on me being there. So he just keeled it over, and I hit the sound of safety. And when I hit that button for the sound of safety, that dude lost his mind.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he straight up shit his Ford Focus.
Yep.
And he was not having a good day after that.
Nope.
And because all he saw was he heard the police sound.
Yep.
And he looked over and saw the black and white police motorcycle. He didn't realize the guy wearing the, my shit, like the stuff I ride in. And so he was just, 10 and 2 after that.
Oh, yeah.
25 miles per hour, not 1 mile an hour over the whole way. And I was going to clean his right mirror off for him, biblically. So I was going to pull up and just clear his right mirror off for him. But then I realized it was being held on by tape. I think somebody already got him. So I think this guy's a perpetual motorcycle fuck with her. I think he's just one of those guys that drives around fucking blind all the time.
Dude, the people are out though. So me and John, we went to my work on Saturday to pick up some stuff for each of our cars, whatever. And so I dropped John off, and then I was heading back home. And so I got off the 480 to get on to 20, and it's a 2-lane road.
Yeah.
And there's a car in the left-hand lane doing 50,
Yeah.
and I'm in the right-hand lane, and I wanted to do 70.
Right.
So right there's no problem. because I have an open lane in front of me.
All the lane you want.
All the lane
You're
I
going to
want.
pass on the right like an asshole, but you still have all the lane in the
All
in
lane
front
I
of
want
you.
because they're doing 50 in the slow lane.
Sure.
Or the fast
on the
lane.
fast lane. Yeah.
So I start to pull up next to them, and as soon as I get next to them, they speed up.
Well, of course they do.
And I said, okay, no big deal. I'm still not mad. I don't care. I had a nice morning.
Yeah.
And so I'm going a little bit faster, and then all of a sudden there's a car in my lane doing 40.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
now I'm like, I have to slow down. So now I get behind them.
Sure.
So they start slamming on their
Of course
brakes.
they do.
But they didn't understand that I hate my car and I'm fucking nuts. So like I move over to try to pass them. They get in front of me. So now I'm fucking mad. Now I'm like, okay, you want to think? And the best part is they have Jesus stickers all over the place in their car, right? So I fucking jut out to the left, fly past them at 80, and then just fucking put all 4 tires and stop. So they missed me by 2 inches, slid into the grass, slid sideways, and I'm fucking going. Now I'm laughing because I'm fuck you.
Right.
So they come back and they want more.
Of course
they
they
fucking
do.
come out. Now they're more. So now this dude is hanging out of a car out the driver's side or passenger side. His wife was driving.
Was this Easter Monday?
Sunday? Or no, Saturday.
Easter
Day before
Saturday.
Saturday.
I was not with you during
No,
that.
I dropped you
Oh,
off.
oh.
So they come back. So I do it again.
They were really angry that Christ hadn't risen yet.
I flat spotted my fucking tires. And these motherfuckers went into the median this time, spun sideways and sat there. And so then the car that was behind me comes
Yeah.
up and he's giving me the high five.
Yeah, right.
Fuck yeah, and fuck you and thing. So, but then I got home and like it kind of hit me. I'm like, I should probably put my car in the garage.
Yeah, you should.
So, but fuck those people. I don't know what's going on with people, but that was like I went from being completely happy, not like I didn't care that they
It
were
was
there.
Easter Saturday, and you went Fury Road on the guy.
I did. They started it. I finished it.
Shiny and chrome.
My God, man.
Fucking people.
My God.
My comment. Yeah.
It's a fine.
Comment.
What?
You might be a little bit of an angry driver.
Yeah. Oh, that happens.
I mean,
yeah.
sure. I mean, but I'm telling you, this I didn't do
He's
shit.
definitely, what the fuck is this guy doing? What is it that you're gonna get? A lot of that.
Yeah, I mean,
You're right on this thing.
that happens occasionally.
Jeez, what the fuck is this? What? Yeah, there's a lot of that.
You do the same thing.
No.
I just
You don't
focus
even
on.
realize
I just focus on arriving at my destination.
Oh, you guys are all terrible, terrible people.
I don't yell.
The big.
You're an excellent driver, though,
Thank you.
I
Up
feel
and
like
down the driveway.
except in traffic.
I do want to bring up one thing. If you take your motorcycle to your motorcycle shop, and the guy who works at your motorcycle shop or the guy who owns your motorcycle shop says, just letting you know, your bike's a 03 Intruder 800. And I told you last year we weren't working on this anymore.
Right.
And I told you the year before that, you got to sell your bike.
Mm-hmm.
And I told you the year before that, you got to sell your bike.
Right.
And last year I told you we weren't working on your bike anymore. And you pulled a Mr. Sneaky and hired a flatbed driver to drive it here. And you, flatbed driver, is out there with the flatbed, tilted and say, hey man, can you go up and sit on this bike? And I wanted to be like, no.
Right.
No. In fact, take that bike back where you found it.
Did he call to make an appointment?
Negatory, good buddy.
So you have no concept that this bike is showing up?
Nah. He was going on the assumption of past performance influencing today's reality. So I roll the bike off the thing, and every year it looks a little worse. There's like one less turn signal and one less mirror,
It's not going to get better.
right? There's one more cracked fender.
Right.
There's one more, accessory that's falling off.
Sure.
It's just spectacularly.
Did he get any
Bad.
LED lights?
Well, he had LED lights on for a long time, and they've fallen off over the years. I think he started at one point with a full flock of LED lights, and now he's down to just wiring. There's basically just wires where LED lights used to be,
Right.
and there's those Amazon speakers all over it.
yeah.
That just aren't hooked to anything anymore. And one of the times he brought the bike in, he's like, "Hey man, can you hook my speakers back up again?" No, I can't hook your speakers back up.
We're not
again.
a stereo shop.
I just
last
don't even
I
want to
checked.
do that
Yeah.
for you, right?
What's like we told the kid that had cut holes
Yeah, in a
Giant
brand new bike.
holes in a brand new Piaggio.
Yeah, brand new bike.
Is this too high or too? Oh, you're doing it.
Yeah,
We cut huge holes
to put 6x9s in it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
in his brand new LT 150,
yeah.
And like we're looking at this. Well, number one, they cut into the tip over sensor, which is why the bike wouldn't.
No, here's my favorite thing. They didn't cut into the tip over sensor. They were powering their bike on the tip over. They were powering their stereo system on the tip over sensor.
Yeah. So it was the power in on the amp was the tip over sensor. And I literally pulled the whole bike apart and I look at this and I'm like, who could be this dumb? And then I looked at the speakers and they hadn't speakers.
Right.
You put spade connectors on the ends. Female connectors, you put them on the ends, you put them on the speakers. They had taken the wire and wrapped them around the terminals.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
After dremeling giant holes into the glove box and into the top case.
No electrical tape or anything?
No electrical tape.
The back of the speakers were hitting the frame.
And there
real,
was
not
no
joking.
way this was going to work. Like
The back of the speakers were hitting the frame.
I could not have done this worse myself if
no
I
way.
had tried. And I'm looking at this going, you could have taped anything on the back. A Bluetooth speaker. I have one of those block rockers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that
they're
I hang out
stupid.
with.
They're ridiculous.
You can strap it to the back of this bike
Yeah, absolutely.
and get more sound than you would ever get out of what he
It was
There's
just
no,
this bike over.
there's no pressure behind it.
Yeah.
There's no box.
Yeah,
There's no
there's
anything.
nothing.
Right.
Nothing. And he's like, and he tells Phil when he comes pick it up. Well, I had my buddy install these. I said, you should probably not be friends with that guy.
Yeah.
Well,
You
this
should probably
was-
buy you a new bike.
Oh yeah.
Well, but this was another bike that, of course, in the phone call. Do you know the way this bike was described?
yeah.
Brand new.
No.
Perfect.
Nope.
I need to bring it in for my first service.
Bring him for a service.
And I was like, we bring it in for your first service. And then it showed up.
Yeah.
And it looked like a Jeffrey Dahmer victim, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it was just a mess. And
It goes from you're thinking oil change, check the chain,
Oh, yeah.
little lube.
normal stuff, just
Yeah.
normal stuff. But then when it showed up, and I was like, oh my God. And so that's this whole thing about man, quit lying to your mechanic, quit
Yeah.
lying to your shop owner, just stop. And so we decided that we were going to, Tom decided, I told Tom, I was like, give us a conservative estimate on this Suzuki, on this Intruder.
Oh, yeah.
And give us a conservative estimate on this bike. Because I think the guy said it was a 2008.
Yeah, he
But it's not.
I think 8 or something,
it's
and
like
then
a
it ended up being like a
2000.
2003.
Yeah, it's 2003.
And I don't. It's not even that I mind.
Yeah.
The garbage that I have worked on for 25 years. This bike is actually not that bad. It's not literally covered in poo. Like it has not sat in a horse field with a horse dumping on it for 25 years.
Tom's
it's not covered.
standards have been New Orleans. Tom's living in New Orleans and working on New Orleans bikes for the past 20 years has got his fucking standards all screwed up.
Well, you had to deal with the corrosion's a thing down there, right? Everything is corroded.
Yeah. For example, I bought a really nice CB 125S a couple of years ago for somebody I'm not going to talk about right now, but bought a really nice CB 125. It was the beautiful bike. It's beautiful green. All the stainless was nice. All the chrome was perfect. It was a perfect bike. It looked like a time capsule.
Hadn't been in New Orleans long.
It hadn't been in New Orleans long because it actually, as funny as it sounds, it came out of Baton Rouge. But I bought it in Birmingham, and the guy had taken beautiful care of it. It sat in my garage for 2 years. It is not the same motorcycle. It looks like you literally just stuck it under a waterfall and let the water just have at it.
So that's it's the air, just the moisture in the air is salt.
It's 100% humidity. It every day of your life you are covered in soup.
Wow.
It does not matter what the temperature is. And then on top of that, so you have literally the corrosion just forms out of the air. I had a dirt basement. I mean, we don't have basements because if you dig down 2 feet,
You're
water,
wet, yeah.
But it's a dirt floor garage, 100% humidity. It's 110 degrees every day of your life except for February when it's minus 27. And you have these extremes, and that's all it is.
Yeah.
And it destroys everything. So this is what I've dealt with after Katrina, I literally unflooded bikes for a year. And after a year, you couldn't do it anymore because the corrosion had finally gotten
Yeah, and just
everything.
ate them. Wow.
So, but this bike, he looks at it like, well, we're not going to work on this bike anymore. And I look at him going, I mean, it's not that horrible. I've worked on an Intruder. I've worked on the same bike, which had approximately the same miles and looked like somebody had ran over it with a dump truck.
Yeah,
And he's like, we're not going to do this anymore. I'm like, I can say that now?
Doing this for
Cool.
23 years has made me fucking picky.
Yeah.
I'm a prima donna now.
I have a mint intruder waiting to come to me
wait.
from my brother.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm talking into it.
No,
I had
he
it
had
down
the-
when you were
he had the
gone.
signal down.
Hey, John, you did the right thing.
Yeah.
But he muted you out. So you go to the
No,
bathroom.
you're good.
I woke your security system up.
Yeah, Riley probably wanted treats.
I said hello. I let him smell my hand. I petted him and
Yeah, he's
everything.
fine.
Yeah, he's cool. I like that dog.
Yeah.
The cats were sketchy as fuck.
Oh no, the cat's sketchy. Molly, no, she'll bite you.
I would just when you tell a customer not to bring your bike back and the guy still brings the bike back,
Yep.
what do you do? I mean, because he's been told several times.
You bring the bike in.
I was thinking
You
about,
tear it apart.
Yeah.
You basically splay it and bury it in 4 parts of the world.
Yeah, that's right.
draw and
Yeah.
quarter it.
Yeah, you draw and quarter it. Yeah.
And we're like, no, we got it apart.
As the
Sorry.
line goes, we've been done, told you.
Yeah. Maybe the answer is instead of bringing it in at night, we just leave it out
We have done that.
and let the Jawas have at it.
I used to threaten people, and actually one time I followed through.
Yeah.
We had a dumpster in front of the shop, and we told a guy, he says, "Look, you need to come get this. I'm going to stick it outside." And to be fair, hey, drink. It's good. We're what 27 minutes in, and I finally said it. Drink. Oh, I'm out of drink.
See? We need our bartender.
Yeah, we do. But I threatened to put a bike outside and let the Jawas have it. And when the guy talked to me on the phone, he said, well, something, angry. And I said, well, that's fine. You get probably 15 to 20 minutes before the Jawas come
Yep.
today.
Yeah.
And Dave, God bless him, he went outside and pulled the bike in and says, you can't do that. I said, Dave, I can do that. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You don't want me to do that, but I can do that.
You didn't put a free sign on it.
Oh, no.
You just parked it outside. A
No,
bike
I
is
just
like a
parked it
car.
outside.
Right. You could push a bike out and put it on the street.
I have physically picked up and thrown bikes into dumpsters,
Yep.
which Dave, of course, pulled back out.
Oh my God.
You can't do that, Dave. I can.
I don't think you can count on Phil to pull them back out.
No
he
way,
would.
man.
Well, number one, we don't have a dumpster.
Yeah.
And number two, if I threw a bike into a dumpster, Phil would look at it and go, well, it probably deserved it.
Yeah.
We could take that to Mid Ohio.
That has become the
Again,
tagline around
you
the shop.
don't need a dumpster when you have Mid Ohio.
Oh, no.
Right.
No.
That's it. That's the great equalizer. It is the best. Sleepy posted a picture of a 1981 Honda CB 750 Custom in the exact same color scheme that my dad had, and it's the dark blue, the medium blue over the dark blue. I will say, as much as I hated and still hate these dual overhead cam Hondas,
They look all right.
right?
though.
No, they don't.
I don't mind it.
Okay, well,
I'll
that's
take
because you're
a
younger than me.
CB900. I saw a beautiful CB900 on the marketplace today.
Would you take
The
this-
silver and the blue
So,
one?
that's my favorite. I would buy that. How much?
It was $7,000.
Yeah, I'm not buying that one.
No, it wasn't worth what they were asking for. But if I had to have that era of CB dual overhead camish,
Yeah.
that would probably be the
Nick
one.
has a black Nick Vicar or whatever. I can't say his last name, but the black and orange one. And it's
Yeah,
fucking
the black and
beautiful,
orange
man.
one was good.
Yeah.
But the only one that I saw in the wild was smoking like a bitch. I rode on it. I rode
custom?
with this guy. Yeah. No, it was the one that had the tail
The
section.
F.
Oh, the F.
Yeah,
The F.
But it was smoking horribly.
I-
Nick's does it. Nick sounds great and it's fat. That's a good bike when they're
Probably.
yeah.
Maybe.
Oh, I see what you're talking about. This is the CB900C.
Yeah. So
CB900C. Yeah, it's a dual range.
Yeah.
Don't ever touch that.
yeah.
I don't want it.
No,
I agree with Tom.
No.
Yeah.
Whatever range it's in, it must stay in for the rest of its life.
Correct.
It's a good idea. It's a real good piece of advice when they get to a certain age.
What is the point? I guess what was Honda's point
Well,
of putting a dual range transmission on a road bike like that?
Street track.
Yeah. No, it's more highway and in town. It actually wasn't a bad idea. I mean, International did the same thing with some of their trucks where you have like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then high gear and then low gear, where you did like 1, 2, 3, 4 in like a high and a low differential gear, so you actually go faster or slower depending on the situation of the thing.
Sure.
And Honda thought, well, Americans are stupid, so we'll have a city gear and we'll have a road gear. And Honda had a lot of really good, bad ideas between 72 and now. And this was one of them where it was like, no, we don't need that many options.
Yeah. No, you
And
don't.
by the time you were done, because you showed me earlier, you showed me the Goldwing. Mm-hmm. This would have been right in the time when the Goldwing was starting to gain steam and hadn't become the giant RV that it is now.
Right.
It was still kind of a slimmed down 4-cylinder Volkswagen powered bike.
Yeah.
And the CB900C had no place in its life to compete with a Goldwing.
Yeah. It's true.
It's
true.
The Honda's no stranger to dual range transmissions. We go back to the trail and keep.
That makes sense though for off road.
So I'm going to tell you why it makes sense for everything.
Okay.
And even Tom talking about 18 wheelers with 10 speed or 15 speed transmissions,
Or 2-speed rear end.
2-speed rear ends.
rear end.
Exactly. Right. So there's all different ways. If you don't have the ability to make an engine pull solidly from 2,000 RPM to maximum RPM, if you can't do that, if for whatever reason, CV carburetors, lean as fuck for emissions.
Yep.
If for whatever reason you no longer have from 2,000 RPM to 10,000 RPM, if your power band gets narrowed down to about 5,000 to 7,000, magically now you can use the old trucker trick, which is you want to keep your diesel engine happy. You don't want it spinning too fast, and you want to have it in the torque where you want it to be. So to do that, if you've ever been a human being pedaling a bicycle, what do you have? 27 fucking gears. Right? Why do you have 27 fucking gears? Because human beings are just lousy at being flexible power outputters. We get a cadence. As a bicycle rider, you get your maximum efficiency at a very particular cadence to you, and then you got to work the transmission to make that happen.
But see, that makes sense because you can go through any of them at all times.
You can. Hold on, you can't.
The Kreidler 50cc Racer had a 10-speed gearbox.
Right. Yeah.
Because it had it had great power from it.
So we've touched on that in the past, but under the guise of marketing this, remember at the time, speedometers went to 85 miles an hour. They didn't go higher.
My bike outside has that.
All right. So this was an era. This was a very strange time when regulations were having more power than engineering.
The Corvette goes to 85.
I know, man. I'm telling you, it's very, very frustrating.
In second gear.
So for a very brief period of time, the CB1000 with its dual range transmission, 10-speed transmission, 5 high-low, was the fastest motorcycle that you could buy in America for like 11 and a half minutes, long enough to be featured in Cycle Magazine, right? For being the fastest motorcycle in America. Because yes, due to that high-low range transmission, the gearing was so tall, and with 1,000 cc's, you could roll it. It took forever to get there, but it got to a very, very high top speed. Now,
But it can be quick too if you put it in low
range.
Yeah.
Exactly. But here's the trick. And this is where I've ridden a lot of these, and I have listened to people have this argument for 30 years of my life. And usually I just sit back. You cannot use it as a 10-speed. You use it as a city low gear, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, to get you up to about 80. And then once you're cruising happily in 80, you take a deep breath and you go into high range. It's not going to be like putting a bike into a natural 6th gear or an overdrive. It's not going to feel that way. It's not going to have that very natural, this is just another step.
Can you actually reach down and throw the lever while you're riding and everything?
You can.
You have to grab the clutch though, don't?
I do recommend retreating your power away from the drive system when you do it. But I have done it, and it is functional.
The lever's on the left.
Lever's right there.
So you can't
right
hold
by literally right by your shift lever.
Do you have to be in neutral?
No, not at all.
Because on my 3-wheelers,
It's a jack shaft. Okay, so the way this thing works is an internal spline, extra spline on the end of the gearbox. And I have ridden these.
It's actually stupid simple.
It's stupid simple.
Yeah.
It is stupid simple. Oops, excuse me. But what I can assure you of is if you ride a 6-speed motorcycle that has a nice, healthy overdrive. Now, hell, a lot of motorcycles today, 5th is an overdrive and 6th is an overdrive. You're getting 2 overdrives because the power of these motors is so flexible now that you can drop 25 RPMs and still be in your butter zone, still be in your decent torque package. But back in the day, you dropped 800, 900 RPM, you were on the wrong side. You were no longer pulling, right? So where we can now have 5th and 6th, they're both overdrives. It's wonderful. Back then, when you tried one of these 10 speeds and you'd go up to 5th gear and you'd get your bike wah, 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 right up to 80, 85 miles an hour, which is where I assure you, if you've ever ridden a CB 900 Custom in low range, 80, 88 miles per hour is about all that bike wants to give you. It is geared out at that point.
It's like a car with 411 gears in the rear end. It's all gear bound.
And remember, a rack of CV carbs, lean as fuck from the factory to pass California emissions and everything else, right? When you make that jump from 5 low to 5 high, it is like somebody putting a trailer on the back of your motorcycle. The change in performance is so dramatic. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 10. What you can't do is you can't do 1 low, 1 high, 2 low, 2 high, 3 low, 3 high, 4 low, 4 high, 5 low, 5 high.
Yeah, you don't have an air splitter.
You don't have an air splitter, exactly. So you're not working the transmission that way. Right. And I've tried it. Look, man, just as a proof of concept, I was all too happy to go out and go 1 low, 1 high. And it is a juggling act on its best day, right? It is a juggling act. And you don't want to slam it.
You'd be better off on like a 1930s or 40s bike with a foot clutch and a hand shift.
I totally agree. Yeah, I totally agree. But I've done it. I've done it to prove a point because I had an asshole who was riding one argue with me. And I was like, it's your motorcycle. Do it. And he goes, yeah, I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I go to high range and I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all over again. I'm like, no, you don't. That's not how it works.
Not how it works.
That is not how it works.
Right.
So I would like to put a thought experiment out.
Did he mean he stopped and did it that way?
No.
Or no, moving?
Right.
Okay. Because, that would be the proper way, right? Is to stop, put it in high, and then you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in high.
Well, you can leave the bike in high mode.
Yeah.
And you can run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in high.
But in the city, it's going to suck.
It's going to suck everywhere. It sucks all the time.
Have you ever ridden the CB750A?
Right. Yeah. Then those aren't that bad.
That's better than that.
That's better than that by a long shot.
That's better than that.
So what I would express to you, if you'd ever want to try it, if you've ever had the opportunity to run one of these bikes, is put the bike in high range. Put the bike in high range and just drive it around, like leave out of your driveway. I don't care whether it's a 900 or 1000. Leave out of your driveway in high range, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. You're going to be like, this bike is kind of a dog, and it doesn't really make anything exciting happen until up around 10,000 RPM.
Right.
It takes a long fucking time to get there. But if you put it in low range, you're like, oh, this is a sprightly little fun little bike to run around the neighborhood on. This actually has a little piss and vinegar to it. But you're only going to get to 85.
Right.
So the way that I believe my personal way to run that transmission is as a 6-speed. I run it as 5 speeds in low, and then my 10th gear is just the high splitter or the high differential side of the transmission.
It's when you want to improve the gas mileage by like 15 miles per gallon.
And it does change everything. And it takes the bike that really legitimately could make the DOT safety Nazis happy that it didn't go over 90 miles an hour. In low range. Right. So in city mode, it would get you right up to 90 miles an hour fairly quickly, right? But then when you got up there, you had go from low range to high range. And by changing that final drive made all the difference in the world. And then it went from 85 to wherever you ran out of steam, right. 145 or whatever it was, in that one gear. That giant, ridiculous, because now you have inertia. Everything's going in the same direction. You're already kicking it up around 8,000, 9,000 RPM. And when you do engage that, boom, that second tier, right? When you engage that high range of the transmission.
is the shaft inside also spinning? So is there any kind of synchro problems? Do you kind of have to grind it in there? Or
No, it doesn't grind in at all, as long as you're off the power. So
just like
yeah.
you have shift forks
Right.
inside your transmission.
Yep.
Just like you have shift forks inside your transmission.
Right.
Basically, what they have is a little transmission that's coming off of the output shaft of your transmission that has the same kind of fork. So instead of it engaging these cogs,
Okay.
it engages these cogs, and it gives it it's just kind of
Yeah,
like
so
that.
it makes, okay.
Yeah.
So it's totally doable.
So to me, calling it a 10-speed, yeah, there are 10 actual different gear ratios there. Maybe even some of them overlap. And that's what when you talk about mountain bikes and you got 9 rings on the back, when you get 9 chain rings or 3 chain rings on the front, you got 9 sprockets on the back, right? Well, you know that some of those overlap each other.
Right. But now bikes,
And because you can't clutch it and shift it at the same time, you could technically have been like grab the clutch, drop it into third, shift it into high,
Right.
and then go 2 more shifts from there. But you can't.
right. But you know what's interesting about bikes now? Bikes have dropped all that.
Yeah.
Most of the mountain bikes and stuff, they realize that most guys only want like 10 gears.
That's
9
all you
gears.
need. Right.
So they have like 8 normal ones, like you're used to, you know, from like, I don't know, 23 to 50 something. But now they've gone and somehow they figured out the derailleur so that your 9th gear is like a huge fucking pie plate.
Right.
Like it's like do, 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 do.
Well, the gap, right? The gap now doesn't need to be stepped
Right.
the way that it was stepped incrementally anymore. And they find out, you got 27 gears that you paid for, but you're really only using 7 of them.
Right.
Right.
And it's just extra weight to
Right,
drag with
right.
you and problems too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I only use the front 3 sprockets. I don't even use the back.
So anyway, I wanted to show you a picture of what that looks like. So this is what the primary gear shaft looks like. So you see there's two distinctly different sized sprockets there.
Yeah.
So you have 2 distinctly different sized sprockets. And when you're running on the one sprocket, it is fucking 8 teeth smaller than the other one. Yeah. They are dramatically different sized. So when people are like, oh, it's a 20% difference, it is not a 20% difference.
that's a big old-
It is a big old difference. And the difference between those two is substantial. And if you've ever ridden the ulterior version of that, which is your Trail 90 or Trail 110 with the dual range 4-speed, that's a bike that if you were brave enough to reach your hand down at the 12 miles an hour you'd be going in low range,
It's a 50% reduction.
it is a 50% reduction, right? So if you were brave enough to reach down and grab that plastic switch and honk it while you were in low range, top gear, 4th gear in low range might be 12, might be 20 miles an hour.
That's the way my Big Red was, the
Yeah.
3-wheeler in low
Yeah.
range.
Yeah.
You're gonna laugh at this.
Virtually unrideable.
Since we're talking about dual range
Yeah.
Honda motorcycles,
Yeah.
Sean Stevens,
Yeah.
blast from the past there,
Yeah.
just posted a Plymouth Champ twin stick,
That's a twin stick. Yep.
which is the exact same.
It's the exact
thing
same
in
thing.
a, in a car.
Yep. But I think
know,
those
everybody
weren't those
tried
made by Mitsubishi, I think.
Well, yeah, it was still a
Yeah,
Mitsubishi.
it's a Mitsubishi.
Champ, I think.
Something like that. But it had that twin stick where you were
had a twin
running in
stick. It
2
was
separate
dual
gearboxes.
range gear,
Dual
yeah.
range gearboxes.
Well, my vet has the Doug Nash 4+3.
yes.
Yeah.
But at least that is automatic. So it's
Right.
a 4-speed standard
Right.
with a 2-speed power glide behind it.
Yep, exactly.
So like you could make a modern version if you had like a DCT clutch that would go between the 2 ranges or something like
Yeah,
that.
but now everybody's got
But
a-
why wouldn't you just have a DCT and 8 speeds?
Exactly.
Or whatever.
But now everybody's got a 10-speed autofail.
Well, I can. So I've went from a V6 Ford F-150 with a short cab and a long bed, 2-wheel drives, and a 5-speed manual transmission, get about 16 miles per gallon. Have absolutely no power whatsoever.
Which sounds like a cake song, actually.
Right.
When you talk about
it does.
Short cab.
Short
and
cab,
a
a long bed. But that thing can't. It cannot get out of its own way.
Right.
0 to top speed is a week and a half. There is no 0 to 60 time. You just get out. You just get tired. The gears not great. First gear and reverse are both way too high. But driven miserly, like I drive like my gas pedals hooked to my fucking wallet, and I drive that thing miserly, and I'll get 17, and I'll be proud of it.
It really just drives like my old Ranger, just bigger.
Well, that's all true.
Yeah.
But now we transplant that, still has the number F-150 on the side, into the white truck. And the white truck has a 5.0 V8, 400 horsepower, not 200 advertised, 150 delivered, which is what the V6 is. It advertised 200 horsepower. I swear to God, there's not 150 there. My V8 Ford has 400 horsepower and over 400 torques.
Herspers.
20 miles per gallon on a 10-speed gearbox, on a 10-speed automatic. That, depending on how I have it set for eco or towing or normal or sport, I don't even understand where that transmission is jumping around, but it is faster than snot. But I can do faster than snot 2 or 3 times when I need to on-ramp or whatever, and it makes the noise. And it makes that healthy, that noise.
The growl.
That noise, the coyote noise. But then I drive it normally, and at the end of the period of time when I'm putting gasoline in it, I'm at 19 or 20 miles per gallon.
It's awesome.
With 2 bikes in the back of it. Mm-hmm. And it's an extended cab. And it has all those, by the way, it's also got 2 extra drives. So it's a 4-wheel drive instead of a 1.5-wheel drive that my other one is.
Right.
So, okay, bring on the gears, baby. If it takes a 10-speed transmission to make that magic happen by keeping the truck in its absolute perfect butter zone RPM-wise, then if we have the technology, let's use it.
I don't think a lot of people bought the V6s with the standard, thinking it was, it's a V6, it's less cylinders, I'm going to get better gas mileage.
Yeah, I know.
But almost to a man, everybody's like, no, they don't.
No, they don't.
Because they're just struggling all the time.
Yeah, they've working
got to
hard.
haul the giant truck
Yep, exactly.
around.
And my Tundra with the V6, the Tundra V6 got...
That's a whole different V6.
The Tundra V6 with 2-wheel drive got about 4 miles per gallon better than the V8 that was available in the same thing. There was a big difference there. It was a very capable V6 versus the Essex V6 and the Ford, which is somewhat incapable in a big, heavy truck.
The Tundra's got a dual overhead cam.
Yeah, the Tundra is.
The Ford's got push rods.
But it's got 3 Flintstones on every cylinder, pushing it, hammering
so
it
bad.
With stones.
Yeah, it's such an old motor, and it's well past its prime. And
I mentioned my Ranger, which Harris has now, and it literally has the motor out of the Pinto.
Yes, it does. Yep.
And everybody's like, why wouldn't you want anything newer? I'm like, because I've had it for 23 years.
Yeah. Yep.
And eventually I'll get it back.
Well, looking at motorcycle engines, to bring it back to being a motorcycle podcast,
right.
The discussion came up the other day. We're talking about the Harley Davidson is a 50-year-old motor or a 60-year-old motor. But it's not. It's dramatically not. Mm-hmm. It still is a V-twin. It still is 45 degrees. But the fucking changes they've had to make to that motor to keep the signature air cooling, which they now have very slowly walked away from, right? Mm-hmm. To keep the signature V configuration with a 45 degree V, which they're still kind of slowly walking away from. Every time V-Rod included, Tom brought that up today.
Yep.
Every time prior to this that Harley Davidson has made a sea change, it was rewarded by 0 sales. Like, you couldn't give away a fucking V-Rod.
Oh, yeah.
And now people who really actually appreciate the V-Rod, if you're buying a V-Rod today, parts support for it is pretty fucking difficult. And it's a very old motor at this point.
Oh,
it's been around for a long
20
time.
years at this point, yeah.
So it's not a modern plant, but the modern 108 cubic inch Harley Davidson motor has very fuck all little in common with any of the AMF.
Well, the Evo era, yeah.
And that's where I'm going to change. I'm going to say skipping AMF.
AMF is still iron head, kind of. Look, I know my Harleys. This is why I can criticize, because I know Harley history.
Let me ask you something. So you're talking about the new motors, right?
The 108.
Did you see
Milwaukee 8? Yeah.
A whole bunch of people were posting pictures of the new Indians, right?
Yeah.
So the motor that's in the Indian,
right.
The cylinder heads look amazingly like the cylinder heads on the Pan America. And
right.
Is it the same kind of?
I think it's the idea is that
isn't the Indian overhead cam?
Well,
dual overhead cam.
Yeah. Indian's Polaris, which is going to be mostly Rotax build anyway.
Yeah. But I mean, it's weird that they chose the cylinder heads look so similar.
That's a design choice.
Yeah.
That is literally down to design, because you can build those cylinders underneath. you can take, okay, for the older Honda Shadow, you can take the covers off the side and there are no longer any fins on the side of a Honda Shadow 750.
Right. Yeah.
They just
it's liquid
they're
cooled.
bolt on.
Yeah.
Right.
Plastic.
And so what you're looking at when you're looking at the new Indians, you're looking at the new Harleys and everything else, is anything that doesn't need the fins on it, that's a design choice.
Right.
So,
But I just thought Indian would I thought they'd want to make themselves stand out.
They do.
A little bit more compared to Harley.
They're
Yet
still
the motors look amazingly
they
light.
still have to compete with Harley at the end of the day.
Right.
That's their market.
My
But
first.
they're not anchored like Harley is.
No.
They're not.
They
Not at all.
can be innovative.
Yeah.
They don't have to be air cooled.
They don't have to be.
They can step out.
God bless them.
Do whatever they want to
In
do.
fact, that's part of their marketing strategy is, okay, you're on your 17th Harley.
Yeah.
How about something a little different?
And that's kind of actually one of my biggest beefs with Harley is they could do so much better and so much more. And then you get the I'm going to say it because I actually posted it to you, the Harley Street, the 500 and the 750. This was a perfect opportunity for Harley to get something right, to get new riders on. And everybody went, meh.
Yeah.
And I look at them. I have seen some custom streets, 500 and 750s, and looked at them and gone, this is a perfect bike for people to customize.
I think they're going to suffer worse than the Buell suffered because the longest period of time, the Buell, all the Buell products had the one thing in common was the Sportster motor, right? We had this 1200cc Sportster motor that covered so many Buell motorcycles. And so half your motorcycle was metric, half your motorcycle was standard.
Yep.
But you could still go in and you could say, okay, well, I need this part for my motorcycle. And yes, it says Buell on the side, but the part is a Sportster part, right? So the part I need has a part number that's been around for 20 years. That's great. It's fantastic. You can keep that bike on the road. Okay. And I did. I've had a bunch of them. The difference though with the Street, one, the motorcycle wasn't even built by a company called Harley Davidson.
No.
Okay. And the second that Harley Davidson severs ties with the company that built the motorcycle, then the spare parts for that are now done.
Yep.
So we have a problem. When you look at trying to find support if you own a Buell Blast, that's not a supportable product. There's one or two pieces out of there that kind of came out of that. The joke was like, it's half of a Sportster engine. Well, it's not really, but anyway. But when we do take a look at trying to keep a Buell Blast on the road, because we had a couple of customers that had Buell Blasts, and we just eventually told them, like, bring your own parts.
At this point, it's pointless for Harley to even try to have a beginner bike because all the other manufacturers have already sopped all that shit up. This is 1970 all over again.
I think that
where Honda, Yamaha, everybody has a sub 200, 500cc bike.
Yep.
And they're just flooding the market. You know, 10 years ago, in 2009, when we started this podcast, and there were no beginner bikes, there is a flood of beginner bikes.
So many beginner bikes.
And they are all good. And all those people are not going to care about Harley Davidson when they grow up and want another bike. They're going to care.
The inflexibility of Harley Davidson is kind of their Achilles heel. You know, they have more money than they know what to do with.
It's the way it always has been.
And you know, years ago, I heard it. I heard people tell me rumors where they were going to buy KTM was going to buy them. They were going to buy KTM for perfect example. And then you would have had the Aramaki era with the SX125 and the little dirt bikes and the dual sports, which would have been a perfect tie-in with Harley, especially when they had Buell, because Harley could have been Polaris.
Right.
Let's face facts. 25 years ago, they could have beat Polaris at their own game.
Right.
All they needed was an ATV line, a dirt bike line, a street bike line. But instead, they kept sticking with the chain drive guys. You know, let's do belt drive fat bobs in various colors and sell you leather.
But think of how easy it is. Like, we could work really, really hard and make 5% more money.
Yeah.
Or we could work exactly the same we've been working.
Yeah.
And bring out one new thing.
Yeah.
You know, a Rushmore edition. Whatever.
I think a lot of people, I mean, we all know that they make money off t-shirts and stuff, right? But I don't think people realize how much. So when we were going through Gatlinburg down there was a Harley dealership that didn't sell motorcycles.
Yeah.
That's not even uncommon.
It was just a t-shirt shop.
Go to any airport in America.
Harley Davidson of New Orleans has, well, they used to have Gretna and they used to have, but they have one out on Airline Highway, which is the Harley Davidson dealership. But they have the Harley Davidson French Quarter Shop.
Right.
Which only sells apparel and T-shirts and keychains and everything else. Harley Davidson, New Orleans, that way, because you don't have to, if you're there in town and you're visiting, you don't want to drive out to Airline because Airline is 25 minutes away.
Right. And all you want is a T-shirt.
And all you want is T-shirt.
But wouldn't
they want
you
to prove
be
that they were at Harley Davidson?
I went to the Harley Davidson dealership.
But because collecting T-shirts from all these shops all over America is a thing. People have hundreds of Harley T-shirts.
You know, and I cannot bag on the guys. This is their cosplay. This is their geek. This is the thing they do is go to different Harley dealerships. And this way you literally just go, I've got a hurricane in my hand. I'm walking down the street.
People used to buy,
and I'm walking into a T-shirt.
People used to buy spoons from every town they went to, and they'd go to Niagara Falls and get a spoon, right? That kind of thing. But here's the thing: wouldn't anybody love to have a company that could have a store, a retail outlet, that didn't sell your motorcycle, that just sold your clothing, and have that store make a couple million a year?
Yeah,
not have to prep a single motorcycle.
Don't give
A store the
Piaggio
size of
any
this
ideas.
basement. You know what I mean? That's all it is.
Okay.
It's just racks of T-shirts.
And so you got a presence now. Now you got territory.
Yeah.
You got an area covered with your stink, right?
Yeah, you're pissing on everything.
Right. Right. So it's a very interesting thing. And you can hate it, but you'd love to have the money, right? You'd love to be able to say, today we can sell 10 motorcycles or we can sell 400 T-shirts and make the same profit margin, maybe. But here's my trick and my back thing. The first Evo, 80 cubic inch Evo motor I ever worked on, I was shocked at how different it was. How different it was than the WLA motor, the 750 motor that I had. How crazy different it was than that motor, and how crazy different it was from my 78 lowrider motor, right? And when I looked at that first 80 cubic inch 1340 I had apart, I was like, oh my God. I mean, and I was shocked because from the outside of the motor, it still looked legit. It had the instant appreciation. It took a very short while for Harley Davidson devotees to get in line and buy the Evo.
Oh yeah, because
the
that
Evo
was the Evo was a huge thing. The Twin Cam 88. Every time they changed over,
well,
there was an argument.
Think about the change. I feel the reason the change was important. Everybody knew Harley Davidson's leaked. Everybody knew Harley Davidson's blew up. Everybody knew that the Harley Davidson, the prior to the Evo, Harleys marked their territory.
Oh, yeah.
They jokingly put a diaper under them.
Wait. There's a perfect joke here. How do you know when a Harley is out of oil?
It stops leaking.
It stops leaking. That's a joke. Hey, it works for BSA and Triumph too.
Yeah, but when that Evo came out, one of the reasons that the transition to Evo happened so quickly is people were so fucking fed up with AMF. Every newspaper ran stories about Harley Davidson sold the company back to its employees in order to survive.
Oh yeah, I remember that. There's a video of Willie G standing out there triumphant. We got the company.
We saved our own company. So you could, instead of buying a Harley Davidson, a brand new motorcycle, I remember my uncle bought a Super Glide and it didn't make it home from the dealership. Right? A brand new fucking motorcycle. It didn't make it home from the dealership. And he was like, yeah, that's just part of buying a Harley, I guess. Right? And I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me.
This is the same era people were still buying Chevy Vegas.
Yeah, it's true. But I do think that the next stepping stone to the twin cam, which initially great idea, a lot of power increase, a lot more power, a lot more everything, still could maintain air cooled, didn't have to be anything else. And then, of course, we found the weak points. We found the weak points in the Twin Cam 88, and it became a problem. And everybody knows about it now, and everybody deals with it. The 96 came out. It wasn't so bad. My 103 that I've got, the reason I bought my bike was because I waited until the safety period that took everyone to discover that 88s were trash.
It's like how you don't buy a Ford in the first generation.
Yeah, you just wait a little while. Yeah. So I waited a little while until everyone was like, yeah, man, the 103 is goddamn bulletproof Harley motor.
You're like,
and I was like, then that's the one I'm going to buy.
That's the one you're going to do.
And I became fascinated when we were at the motorcycle show and saw the Milwaukee 8. all exploded, cut apart Milwaukee 88. And I was like, this is complicated motor. When we saw the valve train on that Milwaukee 88 or the Milwaukee 8, I was like, oh, check out the balls on Harley Davidson, because they're pulling Rotax shit, right? They're doing some really tiny bronze bushings and shit.
They had because we talked about Buell. They had years with the CR 1125.
Yeah, right.
They had a Rotax motor.
Yeah,
and they went, oh no, we're not using that.
Well, they had to walk past. They had to train their mechanics to work on V-rods.
That is the thing. That's the thing that for years, because I almost bought a Buell Ulysses.
Yeah,
because it's a great motorcycle, and the thing I have heard consistently from people that were Buell owners back in the day is, the biggest problem with owning a Buell is you gotta walk into a Harley shop to get
anything for it.
And everybody, they were all like, "Look, I get looked down on."
Well, you have to be smarter than that. You have to first get your parts book for your Buell. Yeah. Right. Okay. This is the part that broke. This is the part that fell off, and this is the part that I need to Loctite next time I put it on.
Well,
so I get my 3 part numbers, and I write them on a Post-it note, and I go to my parts counter guy. And I go, I need these 3 part numbers. He goes in the back and he gets you the 3 parts and he brings them out and he says, okay, $38, because they're not expensive.
Oh, no.
The parts are cheap.
That is kind of the beauty of this.
And you have a great relationship because you brought in your part numbers. Yep. You told him what you wanted and he went and got them for you.
He doesn't know it's a Buell.
If you come in and say, I need a shift lever for my motorcycle, and he has to play the game with you.
Yep.
Your make model.
Your make and model, sir.
Your make and model.
And the second you play that game the cat's out of the bag, then you own a Buell.
Right.
Now you're a second class citizen. Right. Now you
And that's again, this is the problem with I personally have with Harley Davidson is their dealer network has been so tailored to this mentality, whereas anything that's not a Harley, Buells were amazing bikes.
If you want the safety net of a dealer on every corner, which is not true, but it's more true than any other brand, you're going to buy a Harley. If you're if you're not self-sufficient, you're going to buy a Harley. Yeah. If you want to take it to the dealer, anytime you think there's anything wrong with it, you're going to buy a Harley, because that's what you're going to do.
Because they're going to sell you on 60 months every time you go.
If you want to be fetishistic and you want to have the world surrounded by the bike brand you bought, well, buy a fucking Harley. Yeah. Right? Because that's what they lean into. And they're really fucking good at that. They're super good at that. What's that?
Why are we still even talking about her?
Because
at the end of the day, we can talk about Polaris. Well, but at the end of the day,
I think it's fantastic that a lot of manufacturers are looking at lightweight, smaller capacity inline fours. Kawasaki is releasing their new Z400.
I don't know how they can afford to build that bike.
And you saw the video I sent about the new possible Honda CB400F.
Dude,
that bike is sexy.
Yeah, dude.
So I talked with Peter.
Yeah.
Peter is the guy that I sold my CB1 to.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I bumped him on it because I just happened to I saw some rare as hen's teeth crash guards for a CB1.
What?
On Marketplace, and the guy was asking like $50 for them.
You got to buy them.
So I zapped him and said, hey, you probably want to buy these.
You got to buy those.
And he's like, I'm going to hit the guy up. And he's like,
now.
By the way, I put down a deposit on that new 400 4-cylinder Kawasaki. So I told him, I'm like, well, if you get that bike in your hands, you're coming to Cleveland, buddy.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. You look up the blow up diagram of that motor.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, that motor looks expensive to build. There's so many pieces in that motor. There's so many parts in that motor. And in a world where manufacturers have determined that the parallel twin
in a world
at a 40-degree angle or whatever, because that's what everybody's doing. And I don't care if you're BMW, if you're KTM, your Triumph, it doesn't matter.
Years ago, when I said, if I was going to build a bike, it would be a big displacement parallel twin.
Yes.
It's the most efficient, the least moving parts. It still would make great power, still be able to rev hard and everything.
But that's kind of where everybody is now, is building parallel twins, which is I think the biggest problem is, what was the Ducati?
And that's why some manufacturers have to break away. Yep. So everybody's in the parallel twins. Okay, we're going to bring back a 4-cylinder.
What's old is new, because you look at Laverda, you look at the old Ducati parallel twins, and the problem is that they couldn't get the oiling down. So the motors would lock up and they would be a disaster. The Laverda SF2 was an amazing motorcycle.
Right.
You couldn't keep them on the road because the motors would lock up. The Ducati, if you didn't bleed the cylinders, they would lock up. Yeah. And so what do you not see anymore? A Ducati parallel twin. Right.
Well, air cooled.
Yeah.
So now you've got liquid cooled, so.
Well, yeah. And now, so former underling of mine bought he brought us a Kawasaki Nomad something or other, and the cylinders were bad. And he says, well, it had a bad leaking head gasket. He says, what do you think we ought to do? What do you think I ought to do? I said, well, I think if I worked at a dealership, I would walk you down the line and say, pick out one of the brand new ones because this bike ain't going back on the road. So he went out and bought a Honda CTX. Amazing parallel twin motorcycle. Unconventional styling, because we talked about the Rebel 300 and the 500.
Yeah, those bikes, I can't believe Hoffer doesn't want one of those.
I know.
I know.
They look ugly as shit, but it's a fantastic, basically a modern PC 800.
Put 60,000 miles on this bike.
Yeah.
It's an amazing the motor is amazing.
Yeah.
And I have looked at the CTX, the 700X and the 750X, because who doesn't want an amazing adventure motorcycle that's cheap as chips?
Those CTXs are like $4,000.
Oh yeah,
I know.
And it's a lot of bike for if you could.
No.
And I tell you what, if you want to see one that looks good, like the factory touring package on it.
Oh,
it actually looks kind of good.
No, what's it? NTV 700 had the solid hard bags on the back of them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And the seat height is low.
And everybody thinks they're all automatics, but they're not. Like if you get the standard, it's a regular shifting clutch and everything.
My NC 700 was a standard clutch. Yeah, it was a great bike. It just you got to get used to the low rev, but once you do that, it's a fucking
I never
great
could.
bike.
Every time I have one at the shop, every time I take it out for a ride, every time I do the exact same thing, I'm just like, okay, what? No, what? No. And I'm on the rev limiter.
Yeah, no, you got to treat that bike.
I'm on the rev limiter. It's a diesel, man.
The reason that Steve loves it is when you have that bike, you automatically sign up for Fuelie.
Yes.
And then like your whole job is to try to get 70 miles to gallon.
It doesn't have a speedometer.
No.
It just has a fuel consumption color wheel.
Yeah.
It's just like the second you give it anything more than a half throttle, it goes to red.
Yep. And if you fill up the gas and you don't report your mileage and how much you pay in gas, it just shuts off and just tells you that you're sucked.
Every time I ride
it doesn't have a rev limiter. If you're getting less than 60 miles per gallon, it cuts the ignition.
Man, every time I ride one of those bikes, and I mean clockwork, every time I ride one of those bikes, I'm always like, what the fuck happened?
Yep.
Like I thought maybe the side stand fell down or something and clipped the motor because I was like, brrr, and then like, no, nothing. It's done.
Yeah.
It's just finished.
You know what's funny is like commuting to work, like when I lived in Cleveland Heights, and the road was 25 to the highway.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
Got on the highway, it was greit. But sometimes after work, when you felt feisty, you want to take the back roads, it was like first gear, second, third gear. Or if you got pissed and you wanted to pass somebody, you were fucked.
It's kind of perfect for an automatic, you know? Like,
When I saw that NC 700 for the first time, when it came out, I'm like, this might be might buy
might be the one, man.
Might be the first time I buy a brand new bike.
Yep, exactly.
And then Hoffer brought one by and I took one half a ride on it.
It's just so bad.
God damn.
It's so bad.
This is not a Honda.
It's so bad. It is such a hard bike to ride. I mean, I'm always shifting it wrong. I'm always like, I just want
Honda should ever sign off before 10,000 RPM.
I totally agree. I totally agree. In fact, I've ridden a whole lot of Hondas that, due to, the countries they were made in and stuff like that, where to kind of go down the road at 75, you kind of have to be at 10,000 RPM for like all day.
Yeah.
And the bike has to be okay with that.
That's what Honda does.
That's what Honda does.
But do you think if you got in there and reprogram some stuff, like, do you think it has more?
No, I don't think so.
Is it because of the stroke or what causes it?
I think it's the engine geometry. I think the whole idea is, I think it's doing exactly what Honda wanted it to do.
Yeah, I think so, because it's a high mileage commuter.
It does what it does really well.
It's definitely not an adventure bike in any sense of the word.
John brought it up only to fuck with me a little bit But John talked about the C. I know, man. Here's what he does. But we have all been kind of looking at that. The CB400 we can't get in this country.
Yeah,
right? the 4-cylinder.
It's fucking nice.
Yeah, but it's always for the past 15 years. It's looked like a Hornet.
Yeah.
So it's basically been a 400 Hornet, which Suzuki didn't do all. Suzuki's 400 Bandit. It was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Right. It didn't sell, but it was kind of fun. And we were obviously fan of it, but for them to finally, after 1,000 years, abandon the 400 Hornet platform,
right,
give up on the VTEC, and that's what I'm a little miffed about, because they're giving up on the VTEC, but the new one looks just like a CB400F Super Sport.
It's fucking great.
I mean, it should only ever come in yellow, blue, and red,
right,
by law. And that would be
it.
A
black one, or did somebody custom that?
I think that was a black one. I think there was, yeah. But I would still agree, yellow, blue, and red.
Yeah, 100%.
That's it. That's the only colors that should ever be.
I came so close when you had the Mentor shop.
Yeah.
You had a blue one for sale for whatever, and I was slobbering.
Yeah, you were drooling all over that blue bike I had. That blue one was actually a British import. So that was a British CB400F. Really kind of hard to tell the difference. Little small things here and there. But it had you could turn the lights off and stuff. But so I've had a bunch of them. I've had a lot. But I've never had the last year. The 77 one had like the upright American style handlebars. It was more of an upright riding position. I've never owned one of those 77s, but I've had multiples of all the others. And I've been a big, huge fan of them. And they're not an exciting motorcycle by any standard, but they're handsome. They look cool.
Oh, they're good looking.
And for them to say, oh yeah, well, let's bring that out. Look, we are in we sold a bike, yesterday. It's a 400cc bike that was $4,000 because it has one cylinder.
Right.
And you can sell a bike for $4,000 when it has one fucking cylinder, right? Having one cylinder and one conrod and 4 valves, it makes the motorcycle fairly cheap to produce.
Sure.
And you jump on the bike and you ride it around and you're like, this really rides around nice. Steve Hoffert was just fucking raving about his G400C the other day. He couldn't say enough good things about it. Like, this is my favorite motorcycle ever.
I'm not gonna lie, it's a really nice, really cool little bike.
Yeah, but I mean, my favorite motorcycle ever.
Yeah.
Steve has owned a lot of really cool motorcycles,
and does currently
does own some really cool motorcycles. And I do appreciate the sort of Labrador Retriever element of that bike, is that it is just like you get on it and it's the way your brain remembers a 74 CB350. Because, your brain forgets all the horrible things. But if you rode the best 1974 CB350 that somebody could hand you, I say 74 because disc brake, right?
73.
Okay, G. All right. So you split hairs. That's fine. But I say 74 because I know that in 74, we had kind of the high watermark of the CB350.
Yep. That's what mine is.
I know.
Yeah.
But if we took that perfect one, the perfect one, the best built, the best maintained, everything's perfect.
Still not as good as the...
And we put that there and we park a Chinese Shine Ray pseudo Honda next to it, right?
But instantly it's got fuel injection.
With one cylinder,
right,
half as many cylinders, right? The same number of valves, fuel injection, and we put them next to each other and we let you go take each of them out for a ride. You're going to come back instantly and just be like, oh, fucking give me the G400. Give me the G400 every day of the week.
Which is not, because like the CB350 is such a fun bike to ride.
Yeah.
That has to be really nice.
Well, and then if we let you cheat. So if we let you cheat and we give you a CB450 and you can pick the year, because in the mid 80s, there were some tragic CB450s, right? And there were some tragic CB400s, the twins, right?
Hawk.
But if, so
CM.
The CM Hawk. But if you do get like a black bomber kind of thing, if you get a pretty early CB450, those were fun and those would rev out to 10,000 RPM, no problem. But if you got the perfect one of those, and I've had a bunch of them, and you put it next to the G400C, now we got to think like, oh, the fucking Honda's going to win.
Right.
No, it's not. Go out and ride both of them. You go out and ride them both neck and neck, and you're going to come back and you'll be like, oh.
The feedback that I have from Hofford
Yeah.
is that he's like, oh, that's just like my XR500.
I totally agree.
but way smoother.
But smoother.
No vibration.
It's smoother, man. It's smoother, and it's smoother than my GB500 is. That motor, because of the fuel injection being spot on, the booms happen exactly when the booms are supposed to happen, not a blonde one earlier or a red one later. And it's amazing when you perfectly time a motor and you perfectly get air fuel mixture.
Fuel it, yeah.
How smooth a motor can get.
So
because the anatomy of the motor is the same.
Right.
Yeah.
Are they going to do, so like, is that made by MASH or no?
It's not made by MASH. It's made by Shine Ray.
Shine Ray, okay, but
So
it's
Shine
called
Ray,
a MASH
right,
over there.
right, yeah.
So, but I've
Or
seen,
Shinray, yeah.
So in Europe and a couple other places, they have some really cool
Yeah, they do.
cafe-ish looking and
God, they
also, you know, scrambler looking MASHes.
The beauty of the G400C,
Yeah.
not going to lie, is that it is so cheap.
Yeah.
Unlike, because you have complained frequently about people cutting up 70s era
Right,
Hondas.
exactly.
to build
Yeah, no, it's
cafe
yeah,
racers
yeah.
and scramblers.
Cafe the fuck out of
This
these
bike,
things, dude.
this bike is freaking worthless.
Yeah,
Right.
it is. It
There
has
is no worth to this
collector
bike.
value.
There
Yeah.
is nothing. This is
Yeah,
a brand
no,
new
cut
bike.
them up all day long.
Let it up.
Yeah.
Because it's the first thing I thought of when I was prepping the wrong bike and then prepping the right bike. No, it's a short story.
It's fine. It's
that's a
fine. It
short
doesn't
story.
matter. It's good.
Is that you could take this bike and do everything to it you would do to a CB350,
right.
and still at the end of the day have a nicer bike because of the fuel injection.
So would it
and
work
the
with
lighting
pod filters?
and the 12 volt.
Well, just think. I mean, you love
Right, with the-
you're a painter.
Yeah.
Just think of taking that red
Oh yeah,
and put a metallic candy
Oh, yeah, 'cause
coat
we
with
got-
some
yeah.
pinstripes. Put
what?
Honda badges on it. Nobody'd know the difference. They'd be
there's at
like,
least
"Wait, you got an
three
H
aspects.
ness? Where'd you get that?
Yeah.
Where'd you get the? It's actually Highness, by the
Yeah.
way. But you got a Highness? Yeah, that's what. If you read,
And
if I was
the
just watching an
tanks-
Indian review, we're all like H ness.
No,
and
it's
like,
Highness.
It's Highness.
It's Highness.
Okay.
The tanks even
Apostrophe,
have the
yeah.
little tiny cut in.
I
It
know.
looks like a Mojave tank,
No, it's great. I mean,
but you don't
believe
want
me.
to spend $700
Yeah.
because somebody found out that the Mojave tanks are cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And here's the trick. Because we live in a world of thumb-powered devices, right? It is not even a challenge to find every freaking mash for the Scrambler, for the Super Sport, for all the 93 different versions of this bike that they did for the European market. Because in the European market, a new flavor of the MASH 400 came out about every 3 weeks.
Sure.
And if you'd go to the website and you'd look at it and be like, "What the fuck was that?" It's like, that's the Africa Twin version or whatever, right? the Africa One, right? And so you'd see all these versions they made of the bike.
Yeah.
The Africa Mono.
The Africa Eins. So you could
We are in a German bar.
you could just order all the pieces, and they'd show up painted, and they'd be on time because they're coming from Germany. It wouldn't even be a hard thing to do by just utilizing resources and assets that are already there. And it's a fine thing. And I would so much rather see a 24-year-old guy do that than destroy a CB350F or destroy a CB500F or destroy a CB550K, right? I would much rather see them buy a Chinese bike
But
that
that's-
gives them the exact same performance.
But one of the bigger problems is I'm gonna come back around to this is that you can buy an older CB at a yard sale for $500, $600.
Absolutely.
bucks.
Absolutely.
And that's the problem is you're looking at a $4,000 genuine, which
Right.
nobody knows about anyway.
Yeah.
And you're not going to buy. Well, no, I say that.
You're
wrong.
not riding.
Wrong.
You're not riding the $400 CB the day you get it, though.
But
you know what?
Oh no, you're gonna.
But I'll tell you, do you know what you get for free?
What's that?
When you buy a $500 barn bike, when you buy a $500 yard sale bike,
Yeah.
you get a lifetime full of free dreams.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, this is true.
Where it's very
I mean,
hard to pull $5,000
you know-
out of your pocket.
You know, I say
Yeah.
you're not going to buy a $4,000 bike and you're
Yeah.
going to do this, but you yourself told me about the dude that bought the Kimco AK550
Yeah, right.
and turned it into a transformer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And some people are smart enough, coming from a mechanic,
yeah.
smart enough to buy an already working vehicle and
Right.
going, you know what, I'm going to customize from here.
What do you got over there, Sleepy, that you're going bonkers over?
A big
at this.
chubby.
Oh, he bought the
MASH
look at the
400.
Mash 400 TT. Oh. Yeah. So that's so when this whole thing started, when this game all started
Yeah.
7 years ago, when this game started and Genuine was like, we're going to bring in a bike. And they were like, I was like, oh, what is it? And they said, well, it's, we're not allowed to tell you what it is. And they basically gave us a very blurry picture of it. They gave us a blurry picture of it. I was like, oh, MASH 400. And like, what the fuck? I was like, I've been looking at that bike for years trying to figure out how to get one over here.
Dude, I want the TT
because,
bad now.
You know,
Oh, dang.
the DNA is the same as my GB500, the same as an XL. It's the same DNA that John knows. I've owned this configuration many, many times. I'm a big fan of this layout. I love the RVPC. I love the head. But so
red.
all the different versions of the MASH, the TT40, the Cafe Racer version is just dead sexy.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
Right?
Yeah. Well, this is the bike that
$3,000. I mean, in Europe, right? So
Well, yeah, no, it's $4,000. Yeah. No, it's
I know a guy.
money. I know a guy.
So
I even know a guy who preps them.
So I was, when I talked to them, I was like, oh man, you know, so instantly, as soon as I realized what I was looking at, and I said, I just went to their website and I was like, I need you to bring this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one.
Right. He was like,
Bring in these 6 and you'll be fine. And they were like, okay, wow, Jesus, you're intense about this shit. And they brought the first one out, the prototype one out. And
Want a joke? Why is sex when you're camping so good? Because it's intense.
it's intense.
Intense.
And I couldn't, they brought kind of the one that we were going to see, sort of. And I went, wow, you really went straight down the bargain bin, didn't you? You didn't want to do anything really fun or really sexy.
Let me ask you this.
They-
so if they're basically importing these mashes or whoever fucking makes them, right?
Yeah.
So the DOT, not the DOT, but whatever costs a lot of money.
Right. So that's
has
homologation.
Homologation has everything to do with the motor and
So,
everything, right?
You can
So
once you have the motor homologated, once you have your NHTSA and your EPA certifications, you're really good.
So why aren't they bringing some of these other ones that actually would appeal to people?
So it turns out, Steve,
yeah.
that they asked 10,000 people what they wanted in a motorcycle. And they said a fuel injected, early 70s looking, standard, in British Racing green,
Yeah, which is fine.
in red, with a 2-tone paint job on the tank,
I know where you're going with this.
and twin pipes like a Bonneville. And people said the word Bonneville a lot, and people said the word CB a lot.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
They gave them exactly what they asked for.
And they gave them exactly what they asked for and said, now, if you buy 4,000 of these, which is how many it takes to get the whole thing going,
Sure.
you buy 4,000, we'll know you're serious, and then we'll bring out the sexy shit. But we're not going to lead with the sexy shit. We got to have something ready for an act 2. Well, guess what happened?
Nobody bought 4,000.
I did tell you that they're being discounted significantly.
Yeah.
Right? And they have leftover 2022s. Now, here's what I can tell you. This is going to be one of those times in our life when we can make a declarative statement based on short-term history.
Yeah.
If there's a car company that has leftover 2022s,
Volkswagen.
that's a bad car.
Yeah.
If there's a motorcycle company that has leftover 2022s, that's a bad motorcycle. Not necessarily a bad quality motorcycle, but a badly marketed, a badly distributed, or badly respected or not known motorcycle.
Especially when other dealerships don't have any stock.
Our local Honda dealer, Pam has motorcycles she ordered in 2022 that Honda has told her will not arrive until 2024.
Yeah, it's insane.
And they're not exotic motorcycles. We're talking about a Honda Shadow VT750 Phantom, right? A guy has waited for one for 16 fucking months. So that's supply and demand, right? So if your motorcycle dealership was selling 6 brands and you looked out on your showroom floor and you got nothing, I mean, nothing. And I've been in these shops where it's a shop that could normally hold 300 motorcycles. And there's like 3 used bikes they got in yesterday because their guy went to the auction and spent too much.
That was out by me. What is it? The Roush guy.
Yeah.
Or now
Roush.
it's something else, though,
Yeah.
I think. I think they changed the name. At one point, I walked in and there were 2 bikes.
And that's a 20,000 square foot showroom.
Yeah, it was insane.
So I'm going to stop this for a minute.
Yeah, go
Because
ahead.
we've been talking about the MASH
Yeah.
400
Yep.
version of the G400S.
Right. Yeah.
I have just come across the MASH Dirt Track 650.
Yep.
And if I were genuine,
I've already had this discussion with them.
I figure.
Yeah, I've already had this talk.
That's the thing.
I can tell you something you're not going to want to hear.
Oh, that I have to have a Harley Sportster.
I mean, you do know that the MASH 650 exists, and we know that it's made by the same company that makes the G400.
Hey, if you bring in a 400 like this,
and we brought up in our podcast that it's the white one with the Yamaha paint job.
Yeah.
It's the X-Ride 650. It even has gold rims.
Yeah.
And if you tell me you're bringing this in, I'd buy 3 of them right now.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. No questions asked.
Oh yeah, the X-Ride. Yeah.
Yep. The X-Ride. So the X-Ride 650 from MASH is my definition of it's a goddamn Yamaha XS 650.
It really
XT.
is. No.
Thank you. It's an XT.
Wait.
Yeah.
It's the TT. This is the TT.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Because look at it. It even has the paint scheme.
They even
it
say,
doesn't have that weird little pipe up the side, but
it says if you look at an early XT500 photo, you can definitely see where MASH drew its inspiration.
Sure.
Because an
Absolutely.
XT is the street going,
Exactly.
a TT is the dirt
TT's
only.
dirt only. Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
Just so you know that, Tom. I don't
gosh.
really want to rub your nose in
I
it,
know.
but
I don't know shit about
just
motorcycles.
make sure you know what you're talking about before you say something next time.
This is a
That
big
red-
thumper.
that
I mean,
what-
the
that
definition of a
what
big
C-
thumper, 650cc
But
single.
look what color can do to it. Look at the black one. It's fucking hideous.
I know. Yeah, because in the black one,
Did you see this? Look at this.
Yeah, no, it always has.
yeah, hold on, your racism showing.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, no.
So,
No.
But
Look. Is that not the same bike you just showed me?
yeah.
That's the XT.
Yeah.
What is the
I had an
XT?
XT500.
That's the XT. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's
All
the
right, I'm
XT. So anyway, that's the bike that we want them to bring in.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. Well,
Yeah.
no. Let's say this the right way.
All right. Go ahead.
Now, I own a buddy.
Yeah.
I love my buddy.
Right.
You saw it this morning. I love riding my buddy. It's great. I've owned.
We all love buddies.
We all of us in
Everybody
this room
here.
love buddies.
Yeah, we all have.
Anyway.
You happen to have the 4 people of the podcast right now
don't have to-
that literally
I would love
50% of our podcast loves buddies, and they're all here right now.
I would love to see Genuine become a serious. I shouldn't say motorcycle company, but a serious company where they have a large plethora of vehicles.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And you have a very competent, very capable 400cc motorcycle.
Well, to be fair,
Well,
I think they
not me,
have
so
a lot, but they just don't bring them here.
That's the
You
That's
know?
the thing is
Yeah.
they buy them from other companies and then import them. It's fine. We know the PGO. We know it's the PGO My Boo Boo, which is the greatest name ever, and I really wish they'd kept it.
The who?
Boo Boo,
Buddy.
It's
Buddy
weird
is-
what comes here and what doesn't come
right?
here.
But
Well, because we talked about that CB400F, the 4-cylinder.
Yeah.
That's not a new thing. They don't have to build that bike. The Super 4 has been in Europe for
20 years.
years this whole time.
But there
Like,
is
we
this,
just have
there
never
is
got
this
it.
weird gap in American motorcycle culture where you don't get sub 500cc motorcycles because nobody thinks they'll buy them. And meanwhile, we're all sitting here going, look, if you bring me a $4,000 bike that looks like the X-Ride or anything else even close to it,
Yeah.
and Genuine is primed to be the company that becomes that particular market.
Well, you know
because
what?
everybody
I
else
want
is
to pass a
ignoring it.
law that says this: if you're homologated in Europe,
Right.
where the standards
Oh,
are
yeah,
probably
yeah,
by
yeah.
far harder than here, you're automatically homologated in America.
There is
Why not?
There is no
'Cause no-
reason.
There's
somebody
nothing to worry about.
Because somebody's not getting money.
There is no reason why the United States does not have parity with Europe because European standards are
We
so
don't
much higher.
have-
Yeah, but then
Parity
Senator
with Canada.
Jay Sloppy McSlopperton doesn't get,
Well, exactly.
his
It is all about the
constituents.
kid. Well, originally, now I sort of agree with this portion of it. Originally, it was to kind of defend the United Auto Workers.
Right.
So
And
you
it was
kept the auto
because-
workers in place and you kept them in business and everybody got paid and it was okay. But now that we're screwing the United Auto Workers and you're building cars with Chery in China and freaking, in Taiwan and Indonesia.
But
and
theoretically,
everywhere
they might even build the bikes here if they could sell them.
Well, see, the Harley Street, which I brought up earlier, was assembled in what, Kansas?
No.
Kansas City.
They never made it that far.
Oh.
They promised that they were going to start assembling them in Kansas just as soon as they could possibly make it feasible.
Profitable.
And just as soon as they could possibly get the tooling over here. But in the meantime, they were going to be built in India, and they got as far as putting the wheels on in America.
It's like how they put the packing peanuts in the case.
I'm just going to tell you.
For Vespas.
CKD, man. CKD. Complete knockdown means a lot.
Knockdown.
So, but Genuine told me, I'll suck it, I'll say it. Genuine told me the other day that nobody discusses the 650, but they're very proud to tell you that the Colt has arrived. And we talked about this a few months ago. The Shine Ray Colt, which is what a Navi shoulda, woulda, coulda been.
Oh.
And look it up. It's Shine Ray Colt 125. They only look good in red, white, and blue. If they're not red, white, and blue, they're no good.
Nothing compares to the Navi.
Yep. But again, the Shine Ray Colt it's a carbureted bike, right? And it's a carbureted machine.
Oh, this is like that Tomos you wanted to buy.
They had those. We were assembling those things for people that bought them in a box and they brought them in the headset bearings. I mean, that's just another one of those.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like a top tank trail.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
But you know what?
That's
crazy?
not competing with a Honda.
But a Shine Ray Colt 125cc right now retail price is $1,245. Now, $1,245 for a big wheeled, over 2-valve lay down Honda motor.
Right.
That's pretty fair. I mean, that's less than a Trek bicycle.
That's
so that's pretty good. I mean, I gotta say that's a good thing. Now
that's grim money.
Yeah, is that going to be what puts Genuine on the map? Like Tom's saying, is that going to make Genuine all of a sudden acknowledged as a motorcycle company? Because I can tell you that a Vinox 250, a 150cc sport bike, and the K-pipe and the Spade. So those 4 bikes from Kimco that I can remember all in the past 15 years, not one of those 4 bikes has ever made anybody think that Kimco sold motorcycles.
The Wolf was the best of all those. The Wolf,
Sim Wolf,
really should. Oh, but that's not Kimco.
That's not Kimco.
No, that's Sim.
I can't believe the Wolf didn't get more popular.
The Vinox was a really amazing motorcycle. It was really undervalued. It was really under recognized. But the problem is that Kimco was trying
ugly.
Yeah.
Now wait a second. That was the Honda Magna.
Right.
That
was the Magna 250.
It was
ugly.
It was the Honda Magna gateway drug.
Right.
Ugly.
No, it was.
It was terrible. It was terrible.
And
terrible.
that's that was that problem.
But if I remember correctly, it was also frighteningly overpriced.
Oh yeah. No, they
were terribly expensive.
Well,
they were just
to sell the dirt bikes and ATVs out of South Carolina did not care about the motorcycle.
They were 42. Okay, so
why are you not selling SSR side by sides?
Because they don't fit through my fucking front door, John.
Piaggio wants
you can have the remote boutique out in Oberlin.
Yeah,
Piaggio
exactly.
wants to airdrop.
They fit in a container
into the shop to the point where there is no more room in the shop, and you're asking why he doesn't carry cars.
Back in year of our Lord 2008.
Oh gosh,
when money was cheap, the Vinox 250 was $42.99.
That's insane.
$42.99, $4,200 for a 250cc motorcycle. But that thing is legitimately a V-twin. It's legitimately 8 valves. It'll rev every bit of 10,000 RPM. It'll go 90 miles an hour because I was going 90 miles an hour on it. But what sucked about it was it looked like, well,
you know what it looks
like? It looked like those fucking He of Songs.
It looks like the Dollar General version of the Maestro fucking 12 scale.
We have the Honda Magna at home.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it is really, really. I mean,
it's the wheels. If you just put spoked wheels on it, it'd be fine.
Yeah,
but those pseudo just awful.
Well, because the back was a solid disc. which I give it props because I own a Super Magna, so I always like the solid disc. But the front was completely stolen from the Honda parts pile, and it had the Honda dual exhaust from a V4, but it only had it on one side.
And it did it wrong.
It did it wrong.
There's just something
Did
wrong
it wrong.
about it.
It just
look.
there was a lot of problems that were with that motorcycle.
Now here's the problem with Genuine.
Yeah.
They're doing all this stuff about bringing motorcycles and everything else in the new could be a Navi. No, what they should be bringing is the XY 110.7.
Which one?
It is totally the.
Oh yeah. That's every bike in every third world country.
Oh yeah, no, it's the perfect bike.
That is the bike in every third world country. Do you know why Americans won't ride that? Because we bomb every country where they ride those.
You know what? We're only a couple of years away from bombing America.
We were thinking about bombing your country. What kind of bikes you ride? Oh, that one? Yeah, we bomb the shit out of those. That's it. Yeah. I don't care what planet, I don't care what country you're on. If you get out of the airport and there's a guy selling those, careful. Yeah. Just be careful.
Just mind your step.
Everywhere I've ever been that's been the sole.
Do you realize they sell a well, I guess it's not a Ural, it's a it would be a shoot, I can't remember the Chinese version right now. CJ version of the sidecar for the Genuine 400.
Yeah, for the Mesh. And that was the first thing I said was, "Are you importing the sidecars too?" Because if they can sell me a sidecar kit, we're back to the days of Stella days when we're like, just bring me your weird guys.
That's money. Just
and the other thing too, and when I was looking at the video of the Highness, and I'm like, why haven't they come? Why if they don't need to.
They don't need to.
They're selling like wildfire where they're being built. They can't make enough of them to satisfy the Indian market. They don't need to bring them to America. There's people waiting in line at the factory to take one.
That's the conversation about Bajaj is why didn't Bajaj keep doing what Bajaj does?
Right.
The reality is if you sell one, you still sell a billion.
Right. Exactly. And when you're like, hey, when you said, why can't we be like Europe? Well, the original days, the reason we weren't like Europe was there was a major safety campaign that hit America long before it hit Europe, long before it hit the rest of the world. So the false argument for why America had to have separate safety standards and why America had to have separate lighting and everything else standards was because we hold ourselves to a higher level of safety. And so if you want a bike to come to America, that headlight has to be on 24/7. Mm-hmm. The motor has to shut off when you put down the kickstand, and all these different rules and all these strange things that came out that were just either California CARB compliant or US safety compliant. And the fact that we had a different set of rules. So a Ducati that was made in Italy had to, in the 70s and the 80s, that motorcycle had to go through a lot of changes to be sold in the United States.
Like having working electrics.
Well, okay. But you think about a manufacturer and say, okay, well, you do want to embrace the American market? Sure, I'd like to sell bikes in America. Okay, now you got to change these 18 things, these 18 sub-assemblies on your motorcycle. They go, it's not worth it.
Right.
Piaggio didn't pull out of America in 1983 because nobody was buying Vespas anymore. Piaggio pulled out because EPA laws, safety laws, all made it very expensive. If we were going to try to sell that bike in America, the price would have to be so much higher. So by 83, the sales numbers had dropped off so low, it wasn't worth their time to build the bikes up to American safety standards.
I mean, we all joke about 1974 for Vespa.
Right.
Is the joke. Because the 74 which is when the 100-yard tail light rule went into effect.
Right.
And every Vespa from 1974 on, you have to have, when you turn the key to the left, it goes into parking mode.
Yeah.
You have to be able to see the light from 100 yards away. Right. We're the only only country in the world that requires this. And when you look at the spaghetti that Vespa had to go through to make that happen, everybody goes, why in the world would they do this? And they rip the wiring harness out now and put in the European wiring harness. Right. Yeah. Back then, they had to add another 100 yards of wiring just to make this happen.
It's just crazy.
And then in the 80s, when you started getting terrible, because Subaru had the Bajaj, Baja, with the rear seats to get through the chicken tax and everything else, and they started really, really cracking down on this to get in the tariffs and everything else. And you start looking at Vespa, who's starting to try to compete with Honda and Yamaha in America.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, in
there should be
Europe,
one
they're
rule.
selling thousands.
Because now the safety standards in Europe are actually higher than safety standards in the United States. So the safety standards in European theater, the second, somebody should have been watching it.
I mean, they eclipse even California.
Exactly. So the second that the safety standards, somebody would have been paying attention.
We should be wanting Euro standards.
Hey guys, you know what? Turns out, while we were fucking around, they passed us. Mm-hmm. So can we admit that they're better than us? We can, because we're adults. So now we can admit that if a bike is legal in Germany, it's automatically legal in Canada, and Mexico, and the United States, automatically. Yeah. And then not have to change them anymore. Not have to dumb them down.
If it's from any NATO country.
Yes, exactly.
It can come to another
NATO.
That's not a bad idea, actually.
I think it's brilliant.
All right, we're going to run you for office.
NATO stands for Normalized Automotive Trade Organization.
There we go.
And this way, they won't have to stop the assembly line to make American bikes.
Who makes that? What politician makes that ruling?
Whoever's the director of transportation, usually.
So we need to run for that.
Isn't that Buttigieg right now, I think? Anyway.
I was thinking the CEO of Ford myself.
Oh, well, yeah, they're lobbying group.
Whoever's
their lobbying group.
Right.
But I do feel like John's absolutely 100% right.
Yep.
There is no...
Can you say that again?
John is absolutely 100%
This is now
right.
being recorded for posterity.
There is no reason I can even think of why there would have to be any difference in manufacturing.
Well,
I can think of thousands of reasons.
They're
all green and
they're
small.
all money.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, okay. A couple of years ago, Ford adopted a world standard.
Yeah. Yes.
Where they wanted, because this became a thing in not so much in the United States. This became a thing in Australia because they stopped making utes.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they wanted to make it so that every car sold by Ford around the world
could be around the world.
Could be sold around the world. And it was a total efficiency in manufacturing.
Right.
And you ran into the situation where you still had the United States was a different standard from the Euro standards, and the Euro standards were different from the Australian standards and everything else. But at the end of the day, you also had a lot of pissed off Australians because they didn't sell the Falcon Ute anymore. Yeah. And to be fair, I'm pissed off because I can't buy a Falcon Ute in the United States.
Couldn't buy one yesterday either.
Exactly.
So I've been wanting a Ute for a long time. Have 0 Utes. Right?
Do you ever see?
No Utes.
It's useless.
I got no Utes for you.
You ever see the two Australian kids? They started when they were like 10 years old, but they're like a comedy duo, and it's on YouTube. They put skits up, and it's all just in their backyard and shit.
Don't know.
But the one kid, now that he's 16 or whatever, he's driving around a Ute, you know? And things squeaking and stuff like that. And he's going through and he goes, if your Ute doesn't have squeaks and a rattle thing, then you don't have a Ute, mate.
My first week in Australia, all I did, I was like, I nearly broke my neck because I was like, it's okay. It's that Ute. It's that Ute. It's that Ute. That's an Impala Ute. Oh, that's that. And like you're identifying the front of the car,
right?
And then you're like, but it's so to my brain, they're all just something Caminos.
Yeah.
They're all like, oh, that's an Impala Camino, or that's a Ford Fairlane Camino, or whatever. But the point being that the El Camino that we got
was a Ute.
Was a Ute.
Yeah.
so the Ranchero, that's a Ute. Yeah. All of them were Utes.
This is going to sound weird coming from me, considering my history, but every time I'm in Mexico.
Yeah, right.
That's weird. But every time I'm in Mexico, I see a Volkswagen Saviera.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I'm like, and the gardener is driving a freaking Volkswagen Golf Ute.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, all right,
Oscar has one.
Like,
so Oscar
really?
in Tijuana, I think he's got, I'm not sure if he's got the VW or if he's got the little Ford, but he's going to get the VW and the little Ford. But it is literally just a 2-wheel drive an Escort with a bed on the back. Right?
Like the Fiat Panda.
Right.
Like I'm like, look, if I
They sell the Ute kits too.
Yes. Well, I think those are hilarious.
But like literally, I'm ready to jump out of the car and go, look, if I gave you a couple grand, don't say anything, just sign some papers for me. I'm going to drive this thing across the border.
I was driving around Australia and I saw a big Holden with a tag axle.
Oh, yeah.
So like this thing was long, like a proper 8-foot bed, still beautiful air conditioned luxury interior in the front, sat down nice and low. You could load motorcycles in with no problem, get the sheep in with no problem. Just aim for the truck and they jump right in. But it had a tag axle. So it had 3 axles. And I was like, what the fuck. So I wanted to see if it was like a custom build, like if some farmer had really like practiced his Bondo work that day. No, it was factory.
Did you hear the Isuzu Spider? So the Isuzu Spider, if you look it up, it's an 8-wheel drive vehicle.
Oh, yeah,
the front, it sticks out the front. And I thought it was a custom thing. No, they make that
built
fucking
that,
thing. Yeah.
They built it. It's funny. It's a very funny thing. But yes, if we had homogeny, with all the European manufacturers and stuff, we could just bring things, back and forth between countries. Yep. I couldn't bring a motorcycle that is sold in Canada and sold in the United States at the exact same specification. The model in the designation of the model actually says NAFTA.
Right.
In the designation of the motor engine number.
But it has a Canadian title.
Yep. And I went across the border and bought one and couldn't get it across the border. And it's a vehicle that leaves Texas in a truck.
Yep.
It comes from Italy, goes to Texas, leaves Texas in a truck, and goes to Toronto. And they sell it there. So it made it across the border once, goddammit. And I can't bring it across the border the other way.
So
even though it's totaled and has a salvage title.
Which one was it?
That was an MP3.
So the last Babe Rally, I bought a protege wagon from Canada, from the Canadians.
Oh, yeah.
And the entire point literally was to teach my now ex how to drive a stick shift.
Sure,
Because it was a stick shift protege.
Oh, yeah.
Wagon. It was a great car. I mean, it was rotted to heck.
Yeah.
Like it was.
Oh, yeah.
It literally had lived in Cleveland for 6 months.
Yep.
But
6 months.
you would hit the gas or the brake, and the transmission the motor would do this. The mounts just didn't exist.
Right.
But the point being, it was a disposable car that I could teach somebody who hadn't driven a stick how to drive a stick.
Right. Exactly.
And sure enough, I get the Canadian paperwork, and it's 20-ish years old. Right. And no matter what I did, because they did not pay the tax going across the border.
That's right.
I couldn't do anything with this car.
No.
So I ended up selling to, this is going to sound bad, but I ended up selling to a bunch of Mexicans who parted it out, used the motor for something else.
Sure.
Because the motor was great. The motor was in great shape. The car was just rusted down.
Right. I agree. And I have done that. I have smuggled a Toyota Previa from Toronto into Cleveland. And I had license plates on the back of it that were also from a Toyota Previa, just a different Toyota Previa.
It was from a Previa.
The reason I got popped coming across the border?
From a previous Previa.
Previous Previa.
I should have come across the border in hours of darkness. Had I been smarter, I would have. Because people who live up here will know why I got caught. Every Canadian car since 1981 or whatever the fuck it is has to have daytime running lights. So in Canada, you cannot turn your headlights off. That's another one of those small differences that doesn't need to exist between here and there, right?
Well, we had a brief period in the 90s where we
were fetishy about it. Right. We just said if it's a Chevy, it's got DRLs. Right. And but I went up there with my license plate on the bus, found the Previa, put the license plate from the Previa at home on the Canadian Previa, got in, and this is a shit box. I mean, this is a $700 car, right? But I needed parts of it, and it ran.
Didn't you need the windows?
I needed the windows. I needed the doors.
Blew out at the IX Center.
I totaled the fuck out of a Previa. But anyway, this car had all the pieces I needed.
Yeah.
And the motor was ish. The motor was okay. And it had 2-wheel drive instead of all-wheel drive. But anyway, so I didn't care about any of that. I just needed the body parts. And I drove across the border, and the guy snagged me. And he's like, this your car? It's my car. And I immediately just started building a wall of lies. Right? And he goes, you know how I know it's Canadian? And I said, you're going to tell me, aren't you? And he said, yeah, I'm going to tell you. He goes, got your headlights on. I said, yeah. He goes, Americans don't drive at noon with their headlights on. And he goes, even in cars, American cars that have daytime running lights, you'll have them turned off. You people you'll deactivate a safety feature because you don't want your headlights not be out in the daytime. Like it's costing you money to have the headlights on. And I said, well, Americans are funny about that. And he goes, yeah, and that's why I know this is a Canadian car, because it's got the damn headlights on in the daytime. He goes, you can't turn those headlights off, can you? And I was realizing, I can't turn those headlights off. And he goes, so now tell me the real deal. And I said, well, my car's blown up. I wanted this as a parts car. I'm bringing it across the border. And he goes, okay, you got to pay a duty on it.
You got to pay a tariff, yeah.
And I said, okay, I got to pay a duty on it. And I said, what's the duty on a 1994
You said duty.
shitbox Previa? And he goes, well, what do you think it's worth? And I said, well, I paid, I think $500 for it. And he goes, all right. And he comes back and he goes, $27. So I had to pay a $27 duty to legally get the car with paperwork and everything now, legally exported from Canada into the United States
That's obscene.
for a $27 duty.
$27, that's outrageous.
I could have gone to jail for 5 years to lying to a custom agent
no, for
and
27
sneaking in a vehicle that didn't belong in America. I could have gone to jail as a felon for 5 years as opposed to paying a $27 duty on a shitbox car.
I hear those Canadian prisons are really rough.
I'm sure they're really rough. All the maple syrup you can eat. But I learned my lesson. And that's why when Renee and I brought the bike across, we didn't even try to lie. I was like, oh, here's my paperwork. Here's my purchase order. Here's everything else. My salvage certificate. Totally. Here's my receipt. I gave the guy $1,200 for it. I'll be happy to pay the duty on that. And because I was so cheerful and willing to pay the duty, they decided to fuck me over for about 6 hours. They're like, well, if you know about the duty thing, then we're still going to fuck you over for it. We're going to make your life hard for a little bit, at least. Not had any good experiences taking vehicles across the border from Canada. Not once.
Still doesn't stop you from trying, though.
It still does not stop me from trying. I just have to go through a lot of shit every time I try to do it. It never goes easily, even when I have every bit of documentation. Like too much documentation, and it still is a pain in my ass. The not great ever.
What have you been riding, Phil? Did you ride it? I know you rode the Harley.
I've ridden Scoot Baca, so I've ridden the Vespa GTS. I've been riding the shit out of that. But this week, outside of the first day, this has been nothing but Road King.
Right.
Nothing but Road King and customer bikes.
Any fun customer bikes come through that
you know what?
Nothing notable?
Nothing that's rocking my world right now, because 90% of what we got Tom doing is prepping bikes and getting bikes out of prep. And we have had the myriad of just mystery service bikes that are in the shop right now. But we got all of Chris Smith's bikes done in one day. So riding Chris Smith's collection, that is the most, if you can ride Chris Smith's collection in one day, you go from a Benelli TNT 135 to a Janus to the GS 450, 81 Suzuki GS 450, to the Kawasaki Vulcan Drifter, to the Moto Guzzi 1400cc California. That is the most diverse crowd of 5 motorcycles.
Yeah.
And his battery, we'd had the battery on his Janus trickling, charging. And when it came time to start it, we went out in the park. It was a cold day. It was cold and fuck. Turn the thing on, choke it up, hit it, and it went dug, der. And I went, oh, fuck, man. And I was like, we had this battery on a charger.
Yeah.
Had it on Optimate. Hit it again. Dug, dug. So I was like, it's got a Kickstarter. So I was like, fuck yeah, I'll use the Kickstarter. Well, I forgot. That thing has been kitted. And now the kit has created a decent amount of actual compression. and geometrically speaking, the kickstart lever on that Janus is not really long enough for its new enhanced, combustible. It's a little tougher.
Oh, I'm sure.
And so the first time I kicked it, I was like, ow. And then the second time I kicked it, ow. Fuck. And then the third time I kicked it, it lit. It fired up, and I was like very proud. And I was like, choke all the way up, keep throttling it up, keep it running, right? And it did take it quite a while to warm up on a cold day. It's a little, Chinese carburetor.
Did Chris's Janus leak at all?
No, there wasn't a leaky Janus, but it did. It was just a reluctant Janus. I had to really, really work it. I had to really get my foot in it.
In honor of Chris Smith, you want to hear a joke?
Oh, I want to hear a joke.
All right.
Yeah.
Little old lady decides one day that she wants to join an MC. So she goes down to the local biker bar and knocks on the door. Door is opened by a big hairy biker with a beard who's covered in tattoos and has a gun hanging on the side. Little old lady says to him, "Hey man, I'd like to join your motorcycle club." Biker starts laughing by this and decides to play along, telling her, okay, but you got to meet the requirements first. Do you have a bike? Little old lady points to a Harley right there in the parking lot. She said, there's my bike there. Biker's surprised and says, man, all right, well, do you smoke? Little old lady says, yep, I smoke 20 cigarettes a day, and when I'm shooting pool, I'll smoke a few cigars too. Biker's like, holy shit. He's like, Biker's impressed and says, hey, man, have you ever been picked up by the fuzz? Little lady says, no, but I've been swung around by my nipples a few times. I figured that was a good Smith joke.
That's a good Chris Smith joke.
You know, I was going to have alligator for dinner tonight,
Yeah.
but we only had a crock pot.
Oh, man. Okay, look up your local Distinguished Gentleman's Ride. Become a part of that. If you haven't done it yet, it's a lot of fun. Make sure you do it. It's a good thing. It's a good thing for anybody who wants to get involved. If they don't have one near you, make your own. Invite your friends. Have a very small Distinguished Gentleman's Ride. It can be small and distinguished at the same time. It's not a big deal.
It's all about the mustache.
I've been telling ladies that for
All about the
many
mustache.
years.
It may be small, but it's distinguished.
distinguished.
That's it. So on that, folks, please remember to ride fast and take chances.
Take chances.